And then, yep. Okay, we are live here. So we'll wait for John. I haven't heard from him that he hasn't gotten the link, but he says he's going to be on time or relatively on time today. So we should be only a few minutes. So now that we are live, Steve, why don't you say a few words and let everybody know how you sound?
I will try and say a few words.
There you go.
Goodness me, this has been a long haul where I have a couple of days I sound okay, and then a week of sounding worse than this. This is actually pretty good compared to what it was like last week. There was nothing. I would have had signs up. It would have been like Love Actually.
You're actually worse than this, and it's like, I mean, you told me a few minutes ago that like earlier today you were actually much better than this. So
yeah.
Must be as you fatigued through the day.
Yeah, I was working from home today, and I was resting my voice. So I thought this will be great. So I wasn't, and I was here alone, so I wasn't talking to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then my boss called me this afternoon on Teams, and I joined on, and there was nothing. I just had nothing at all. So then I started to worry a bit for tonight. But I've got tea, I've got cold drinks as well. I'm hoping this will start to have a proper effect. We'll see. Fingers crossed. And yes, I'll take a back seat on the bus bench. And that might make it
no way. No, you'll be fine. You don't need a back seat. There he is. And we're all here.
Hey.
How you doing?
John. Good. How are you?
I'll let Steve answer that first.
Yes, live just about.
Steve's still looking for my voice. Nice.
Oh, absolutely, and still not found it. But it's nice to be all three of us here. This has been, 3 weeks? Because the last time I was here, you came on and I went.
Right.
So it's nice to all be here and at least in body, if not in voice.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, Mike.
In spirit.
Mike's in the chat. Paul Hurt's in the chat. Hey, guys. How we doing? I guess there's a few other people, too, according to the counter. So, looking good. This is fun. We haven't started the show yet. This is just the, let's get ready
preamble.
The preamble. Let's get ready to rumble. It's you saw my you guys have seen my notes. Did you see all the shows I've seen this week?
Oh, let me have a look. Have you just added them?
No.
I see.
That's it. And honestly, I got a little something to add that came up today that we'll talk about later. But I barely even watched. I did watch it. I barely remember Mandalorian. It's been like crazy. So,
I thought you were taking it easy on me so that I could get through all of my stuff from like the last 2 weeks.
No, I've had meetings and stuff with the house and everything, and I've just been pretty much straight out, beyond straight out, actually. So
all going okay?
Yeah, it's going very well. It's actually and that's the thing is we're seeing progress now. So it's the meeting I had yesterday, I was talking to the excavator. I got on the schedule. So we're looking at we have an actual schedule now on when things are going to be done. And there's gaps in there in case there's any holdups. So, a lot of fun stuff. And I'm really getting excited, not light at the end of the tunnel. It's more like, you see the bricks in the way for you to get to the light at the end of the tunnel, because the light at the end will be when it's done, right? Well, I've got to build it and then they will come, right?
Yeah. So the tracks have been laid to then build the tunnel to get through the wall to see the light at the end.
Yeah, exactly. So they just dropped off the tracks for them to be put down to get into the tunnels. That's a great way to put it. I'm not even in the tunnel yet. So.
No.
But I see the tunnel.
Yes, yeah.
That's the way it is. But it's exciting, And my wife's getting nervous. She's like, "Oh no!" I'm like, "What are you getting nervous for now?" I'm like,
It's a big upheaval, though, isn't it? It's a big, big job. I mean, I've said to you before, I was stressy as hell about one room, the cinema room. For months and months, all I could think about was that bloody room. So doing
Yeah.
the entire house plus the room, I can only
Yeah.
imagine.
Well, it's step at a time. You know,
Hmm.
you can't, I mean, it's actually more stressful when you do, I don't think it's more or less, actually. It's just like if you were just doing your theater, that's stressful because you want that. You can't wait to get there. When you have so many steps in front of you, it's just, let's just concentrate on this one, right? And
Yeah,
then we'll
yeah,
get to the next one. And you know, there's really not much else you can do, you know. And I've been trying. My wife's like, she's like, you've been pretty good with this, because I'm more of, like you said, it's like I like to be like, get there, get it done, boom, 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 right? You can't do that because it's not just me. You know, I've got to depend on other people and other things. And, you know, somebody tells me they're delayed. What can I do? What am I going to do? You can't get upset about it.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot of moving parts,
Yeah.
a lot of stuff, a lot of plates to keep spinning.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, man.
So
But how are you, John? You okay? Everything all right in the store?
Yeah, man, I'm good. Can't complain.
Did you threaten the UPS guy? How come you're here so early?
I just got lucky today, I guess.
Had a
What
light
the
load,
funny
so-
thing is, he shows up fairly early every other day of the week. It's just Tuesdays for some reason. You know, like yesterday he was there at like noon. You know,
yeah.
tomorrow he'll be there around noon. But I guess Tuesday is their heavy day too for some reason. I don't know why. But
Well, I suppose if they're delivering comics to you, they're delivering comics everywhere, presumably, or is it not like
well,
that?
no, they are, but it's you know, we're spread pretty thin, really. I mean, there's not like this is Houston, so there's a lot of comic stores, but it's not like they're all coming from the same driver, you know. I mean, they're all
Yeah. But a lot of stuff seems to kind of come out there on Tuesdays, you know, your Blu-rays, you know, all that kind of stuff.
yes.
So I wonder if it's just a heavy day for deliveries, full stop. Not that
And Dallas is the major hub that ships out all over Texas and probably to some other, you know, local states too. So, you know, so theoretically UPS is busy in Dallas, but you know, all of my stuff gets to Houston on Monday. So it's just coming through. Yeah, it's just coming through locally on Tuesday. So it really shouldn't be that different than any other day of the week, but it does seem to be.
Do you guys have the cool little Amazon robot things on wheels? I've only seen them on TV.
Yeah, no, I've never seen one in person either. I've heard about them. I even like drone deliveries and things, but I've never seen one.
Yeah, you think that kind of Houston and Dallas and Texas would be kind of a major place for this, but you won't have them out in your way yet, Deej, will you? Because that's out in the sticks.
No, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, the little Amazon
There's like
robots on wheels.
self-driving.
I thought that
delivery
was like,
vehicles, basically.
yeah.
I've seen them. I've seen them going around in like.
Oh, really?
California and
Yeah,
stuff.
that's probably more of a city-wide thing, because out here it's like, you know.
Yeah, you'd never get it, but like
I don't think it would ever happen here.
But,
Too far apart.
right.
Each, like in my town alone and the town I'm going to, the way they run things here, there's codes and stuff. You can't build a house on anything smaller than 2 acres out here, because they're trying to keep it to the woodsy atmosphere. And then you have to have in this particular town, you have to have 200 feet of frontage, right, of road. So that's not going to work for these robots.
Yeah,
They'd be out of battery life by the time they get to their third delivery.
We'll never have them here because people will just steal the robot and whatever's inside of it.
Well,
It'll never last.
Houston too, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do look quite cool though. I love the idea of them, but just it's not going to happen. Not here.
Yeah, I didn't even know they were a thing already.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they're quite commonplace in some cities in the States. I've seen footage of people, kind of reporters walking down the road, talking to camera, not about those, and they're in the background. They're so ubiquitous that they don't even notice.
Oh, wow.
them. It's like a paperboy doing his rounds. They're not even.
Oh, wow.
They're not even looking. So yeah, but I think it might just be perhaps it is California and Los Angeles and even then, it'll only be certain parts.
It'll be cities. It's a lot easier because everything, especially Boston probably won't get it. It's a lot harder because Boston's not a grid. It's a lot of city. If you have a grid pattern, which
Yeah,
actually I don't.
Houston is a grid.
Yeah, most cities other than Boston in this country. But I'd be surprised. I'm surprised because Boston was based off of it's. It was a farm town, or it's European, but they didn't develop the grid pattern until later. So I'm surprised. Well, if it works over there, I guess because you guys don't have grid patterns over there, do you? In
No,
your
like I said,
major
we don't have it here.
metropolises?
Yeah, we don't have the robots here yet either. The drone they'll get stolen, but no, we don't have the grid patterns. There's nowhere, not
Yeah.
a city. Even when they build new cities and new towns, they don't build them on a grid. It's just
Yeah.
kind of whatever whatever looks closest, and it's all good.
Right.
I mean, the biggest problem here, other than them being stolen, would be the terrain would just be too rough for it. I mean, you try one of those in London, Paul will know. You try one of these robots in London with the potholes and the cobbled stones.
Well, Boston
and
as
the-
well. You couldn't do it in Boston either.
And yeah,
No.
Boston from when I've been there, Boston seems quite decent compared to some of the places here. But yeah, South Boston, that kind of area, that's quite old school, isn't it? So maybe it would be a bit more tricky there. But yeah, over here, I don't know. Not only do you not have the grid system, not only are the roads a mess and the sidewalks, the pavements, but also all of the various everyone's got different names for everything. So how they would ever find it, I do not know. The drones would be better.
Oh, I heard, who did I hear talking about that? It might have been Musk or it was somebody like that about tech and everything, and that everything's going drones. And they're like, people that think that haven't been around drones very much, they're super loud. Because just what it takes to keep something levitated, and they're like, it's not good. You imagine what the world would sound like. Get packages here.
Right.
Oh yeah. Did you, John? Did you watch the World Cup in 2010 in South Africa? Did you watch any of that?
Parts. Yeah. No. I watched parts. I always watched the World Cup. I just didn't get into watching, following teams and stuff. But
can you remember the sound of the vuvuzela? This hum. There was just these. There was these long kind of horns that they just created a massive hum. And when you had 100,000 people doing them, it was like a giant fly over the stadium. And that's what it'll be like all the time with these drones, especially ones that are not just flying but carrying weight. Because
that's the thing. How are they? There's no way a drone's delivering like an SVS sub or my box is full of comics or thing. I mean, those things are heavy. So
yeah.
I mean, you'd have to be a pretty powerful drone to be delivering stuff like that.
You wouldn't want to be underneath it, would you?
Right. Yeah. Don't look up.
No. Yeah. No, I know. And that's the thing. It's like, and then everybody talking about, drone cars and drone this. It's like, oh man. Yeah. If we're flying around, it's a tech we don't even know about yet.
Well, I'm quite certain we'll have self-driving cars everywhere at some point, but
within
the
next
drones.
decade.
Yeah, I mean, we won't even be able to drive. Probably, we'll be forced to just be passengers.
Well, if you think about it, I went to a law careers evening a while back, and when I was there was a guy there from the insurance agency or an insurance industry, and he was part of the legal services, and he was talking about the most important thing they're focusing on at the moment is how do you insure a driverless car?
Right.
Who is responsible? Is it the manufacturer? Right. Is it the owner who's got to maintain it? Or is it the dealer that sells it? And they are still wrestling with that as we speak.
And that's probably the holdup. I think, honestly, that's probably why we don't have them already.
100% driverless.
They can't figure out how to insure them. So
because you know what will happen? The injured party will say, well, it was the car that hit me.
Right.
Nothing to do with me. The manufacturers will say, well, it was the dealer that sold it because it was fine when it left the factory. Right. The dealer will say, well, it's the owner that bought it. It's their fault because they haven't looked after it.
Right.
And then eventually they'll go, well, actually, no, it was the software manufacturer who actually programmed the software. It was their fault. And, it'll just become endless litigation. So, yeah, it's an interesting issue.
Although in theory, there shouldn't ever be an accident, right? Because they're designed not to have them.
Well, you'd like to think so.
Well, I did see that episode of The Mandalorian. The robots went haywire,
Right.
and nobody knew how to do anything.
Except for
Someone-
Reverend Jim.
Doc Brown knew.
Yeah.
Doc Brown
Yeah.
knew what to do.
Well, he's the one that caused it. Whoops.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, but no
Spoilers, from
spoilers
3
here.
weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I talked about that. My son and I, or maybe John, you and I might have talked about that as well. It's like, that's the thing. It's like, who's at fault if you're not driving? And I think it would just all, my guess is it's all going to be incorporated when they finally figure it out. It comes with the cost of the car, which is going to send those cars through the roof because they're all going to be overly insured. And it's like, okay, this is what happened to such and such. And, so I don't know, so much liability there. But in my opinion, it is not 100%. Well, maybe it would be 100% safer than people. Because if everybody had a self-driving car and it's all on one network, they would be working together, as opposed to a billion people autonomously just operating and falling asleep and doing their thing. And yeah, we've done a great job at getting by, but a network of cars getting us to and
there'd be
fro.
way less accidents.
Oh, yeah.
It would be much more efficient. But
Not as much fun
no,
on the roads, right, John?
not as much fun. I do enjoy driving.
You do.
But the older I'm getting, the more I would enjoy just sitting.
Yeah.
Oh,
Exactly.
I would have a driverless car tomorrow if I could.
Yeah.
I'd
I'd be
Me
watching
too.
movies.
The
I'd be
exactly,
I'd be
exactly that.
reading a
the
book.
idea you could just get into your car, go take me to work,
Right.
seat back, a little bit of a sleep on the way in.
Exactly.
Watch a film on the Dolby Atmos system on the roof because the seat will go
Right.
right back so you can watch it.
Right.
It would be fantastic. But if you've seen the film Upgrade, which I think you've got, Deej, I don't know if you've seen it yet.
No, I haven't. It's on my list. I haven't. I haven't deleted it off my Kaleidoscape. It's been sitting there.
very
Every
good.
time I scroll by it, I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta see that one.
It's really good. But that one has a driverless car that
Yep.
decides to do things it shouldn't. So you'll have a little look at that.
Danny Speaker says Robots the movie had all self-driving vehicles and no crashing.
And no box office, if I remember rightly, either.
Paul's got
Yeah, I
UK
saw
just
this.
approved Ford self-driving system for public use. Motorway only, not sure.
Yeah, they did. But the thing with that is you have to have your eyes on the road. And Ford have introduced technology where there are cameras in the car watching you. And if you take your eyes off the road for more than about 10 seconds,
Yes.
it will disable everything. Now, I
That-
think that's more stressful than if I was
Isn't it?
driving it.
Right. I'd
So
rather
my
be
wa-
driving.
My wife, we have a Toyota RAV4 Prime, my wife's car. It's a plug-in hybrid. It's like a true hybrid. She literally, we bought it and it was like 4 months later before she put another tank of gas in it because her trip to work and back is enough on the battery. And she charges it when she gets home. So she really never hits fuel unless we go on a long trip, right? But the RAVs have self-driving features. So you can put it on, and if you're going down the highway, you take your hands off the wheel, and it'll keep you in the lane. It'll stop. The cruise control will do everything. But if your hands come off, if it senses your hands off the wheel for like more than 10 or 15 seconds, it will disengage the entire thing. Which to me is like, it shouldn't disengage. It should start to brake and slow you down so that you know safely. Because what if you did fall asleep
And
at
you're
the
doing
wheel
70 miles an hour.
and you're
down the
70 and you
freeway.
hit a curve and it's like, well, you're going around the curve, but the 15 seconds you've been asleep for 10, and it's like, whoomp, and it just sends you into the woods. That's completely unsafe. I'm like, it should just slow you down because even if you're conscious, you'd start to feel that you're slowing down and you'd be like, oh yeah, I should hold the wheel, not just completely let go.
I've got a Hyundai, whatever you guys call it.
Yeah,
Hyundai Tucson. Yeah, Hyundai is how I think of it. But they're stealing it here. They're going to start calling it Hyundai, like you guys do. So anyway, I've got a Tucson, one of the new ones, and that's got the same thing. But what that does is when you put this highway drive assist on, You've got it automatically speeds up, slows down, reads the speed limits, by the way, for any roadworks or highway maintenance, and adjusts the speed accordingly. But it does all that, keeps your lane and everything. But it gives you 2 warnings. So if you take your hands off the steering wheel, 15 seconds later, it'll say, "Oi, put your hands on the steering wheel." Not quite literally. So then if you do it again,
who's the voice? Roy?
Idris Elba. Roy, put your hands on the wheel. So it's actually that's quite good for my Idris Elba impression. That works out quite well. Let's try it again. Lufa. Oh, it's Lufa. Yeah, it's quite good. Anyway, if I do say so myself. So so you'll get 1 warning, and it will say, "Put your hands on the steering wheel," and then if you ignore it, so it's another 15 seconds, then it disengages, and then it just comes off. But it's to stop people just reading the newspaper or texting or. As if I would do something like that with that on. I can text quite a bit in 15 seconds. Anyway, it has proved quite useful. But we'll get much better than that soon. I mean, there's no question about it. We will get, we'll have like the Teslas, albeit they're having problems, aren't they? I mean, they've famously had a couple of nasty snafus, as I understand it.
Yeah.
There's been fatalities, isn't it? People have been killed.
I don't know the details
of it. Just going rogue, and I don't know. I'm not sure. But
they're actually supposedly the reaction time is better than a human, but still, if somebody runs out in front, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, it can't disappear, and I don't know.
Corinda says, "Welcome back, Steve." Thanks, Corinda. I'm not. My voice suggests I'm half back, but not all the way here.
Yeah, Corinda's in the chat. Nice. I got some comments.
Sorry, guys.
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah, let's do this.
And we gotta. I mean, I don't know what your time limit is, Steve, but I think your voice is on a
it's
sand
one of
timer.
The other. Yeah, it's either midnight my time, so 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock your time, or it's when my voice just gives up. One way or the other, that's the hard out.
Yeah. So, all right. Okay. We ready? Get this show on the road?
Yep.
All right. Let's go.
We are Brightside Home Theater.
Hey, home theater nerds, welcome to the Brightside Home Theater Podcast. The Home Theater Podcast, it's all about the experiences, the sights,
the sounds,
the scenes.
And we're all here. The bus bench is full. How's everybody doing?
Fantastic.
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad.
See, Steve, that's why you're not the sounds.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
You're all about the scenes.
Just being seen, not being heard.
Yeah. Speaking of that, we didn't even ask you that. How'd the conjunctivitis go? That all cleared up?
Yeah, that's all gone. Hence, you can see the whites of my eyes now. Not just it looked like Christopher Lee in The Hammer Dracula. Just all red. It was horrible.
Oh.
That went within a couple of days, which is fine. The coughing, the sneezing, all the horrible junky stuff, that's gone. And now I'm still left with what I think is laryngitis, but I don't know. Either way, I sound like I've had 75 cigarettes a day for about 20 years, and I've never smoked in my life. So it's all very odd. Oh, and for a lawyer, you can imagine what it must be like when you can't bloody talk. Because court doesn't stop. Right. I had to do a hearing last Friday down in Salisbury, which is about an hour and a half from here. Drove past Stonehenge to get there, nice. And I had to do a hearing with no voice at all. So I typed out my submissions and just croaked it along with the magistrate. I sent it to the magistrate, so we just read along together like it was a bedtime story. So it was not easy, but client was happy. It was a good result.
Good.
So yeah, it's been rough.
Yeah. That's any idea what it is, or you just trucking along?
It's just a bug that's going round. You know, so many people here have got it at the moment. There'd been some talk that it was another COVID variant, but I've PCR tested. It's not COVID. It's just a nasty, horrible bug. And when I do get it on my throat, I seem to have it for ages. I think I've got quite a susceptible voice box, I think.
Well, it's probably also that you're like me in that you never let your voice rest. So once it gets stressed, you know what I mean? And no, I'm not even kidding. It's like we're the type, like I'll power through, but that doesn't help with the healing if you're not letting it rest, you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think you're right. But because of the work I do, I can't really take time off because there's a constant turnover of cases. Everything's moving forward, and courts are not keen. We've got a massive backlog here at the moment because of COVID. The courts are very reluctant to adjourn cases. So unless you are at death's door, then they want to proceed. What has been good is actually, this is something to thank you guys for, amongst the many other things, because I've had this microphone and I can get really close to it. I can do hearings remotely. Whereas if I was in the court, they wouldn't be able to hear me because it's a big open space. But from home, next to this microphone, they can hear me. So it works out quite well. I've had all kinds of, unpleasant comments at looking like a 1970s radio DJ. Right. But other than that, it's been fine.
That's great.
So, yeah. So all good, just about.
Great. All right. I got a couple of fun things here. It's that time of year again. A year ago, we got this, April 28th, 2022, from Skippy Turtle, which I know who that is. But this is a great podcast followed by a great group of people all over the world. Upbeat, positive, and super interactive. DJ is the best. And that's a 5-star review. And that was a year ago before... obviously, we've brought everybody on board, and the podcast has evolved since then, right? I don't know what made me look, but all of a sudden I went down, and I'm looking on the Apple Podcast, and it's been a year, so we got another 5-star review a year later. So March 20th, 2023, Love and Thunder. Wonder who that could be.
I wonder.
Yeah. Home theater nerds, 5-star review, excellent podcast, highlighting the best parts of our home theaters, the sights, the sounds, and the scenes, highly interactive, and a fantastic community. So thank you very much, because all of these balance out that. 1-star review.
John liked it so much he put it on his shirt.
Yeah.
It's like listening to paint dry in Dolby Digital. Listen at your own risk. That was 3 years ago. Coming up on 4.
What is weird about these, Deej, is that they seem to be region specific. Because when I went on, after I saw the notes, I went on and thought, let me have a look. Because I put up a review of it when I first started listening as well. 5 stars, obviously. And I couldn't find these. So I think it's region specific. I think Apple must just do, because these are from Apple, aren't they? This is from iTunes.
Yes, these are Apple iTunes reviews.
So I think they're region specific. So,
and I don't even get to see them. I don't I think if you go on the website, yours are there. Because we've talked about this in the past. Yeah. And I posted those, kind of like what we're doing here. I put the image grab of them on the website from the different regions. You actually showed me some I'd never seen over here, so I don't know. But if you send me a review, or us now, if you give us a review, we greatly appreciate it. And everybody says 5 stars, please. I don't care. Bash us. Those are hysterical. but because I don't care. I think it's funny. We've got
the whole back of that T-shirt that John's wearing to fill.
That's right.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
As much as we like.
Yeah, exactly. It just means that you took the time to listen to a podcast that you aren't interested in. So I don't know why you clicked on it in the first place. But But yeah, no, let us know. Email it to us so that we're sure to see it, because even, this one from Love and Thunder, that I saw a couple, obviously it's been almost a month since that dropped. So luckily I happened to check, and just let us know, or wherever you are in the world. Cause as we know now, we're all over the place, and really appreciate all the support and the comments, because, interaction is actually more important than the number of stars you give us. So it's pretty cool. And I'd also like to thank right now, this one here was it's Skippy Turtle, but that was Danny Speakers back then. But I like to thank Danny Speakers. He repaired my NHT C-Series speaker.
Oh,
Did fix
awesome.
them.
Speaker.
Nice.
Yeah, he repaired it. I have it back. Great job. Also dropped off when he dropped that off, he dropped off a planter. He's big into woodworking. It looks fantastic. And he's like, do you want another one to match it? I'm like, oh, okay. But thank you, Danny. Really appreciate that. We'll set it. We've been talking. He's going to be coming out to do the demos and stuff once I get an opportunity to AB the NHTs. But now the only thing stopping me is me being able to sit down and do it. So saves. That's a big savings right there, because to replace that thing is at least $500. So he repaired it for, I think he bought the parts for like $30 or something like that, and then his time and stuff. So I'll compensate him. Don't worry about that. But thanks, Danny. I really appreciate that. That was awesome of you.
Can we just check? Does he deliver to the UK? Can we just so I know, is he prepared to bring them over this way? Because we can get some planters. It's the right time of year.
You still haven't gotten your T-shirt yet.
That's true.
I just thought of that the other day. I was like, did that show up and we just forgot about it?
No, we've got the one that John's got on. Remember we did that?
Right.
podcast?
I did the T-Public, but I don't know what happened to the other one. No idea.
Keep a close eye out. The next time the postman delivers, I'll see if he's wearing one.
You know what's funny is that's what made me think about it. I was at the post office the other day mailing my taxes, and I was like, wait a minute, last time I was here, I think was to mail you something. Other than that, it would have been before Christmas or around Christmas time. But I was like, I think the last time I was here was for you. And I'm like, I should have asked them to check in the back. So, but we took care of it.
Yeah.
Either way. All right. Let's see. Donations up next. Donations for 2023. Next week, I'm actually sitting down with Roseanne tomorrow night. Wednesday of this week. That'll be out next week. Really looking forward to that. So we've got it narrowed down to I think we have it narrowed down. My assumption is, but I don't know what she's going to come up with, but I think I have it narrowed down to the actual charity. Again, links are in the show notes for Roseanne's story and stuff like that. And really looking forward to that. That's next week's Takeover Tuesday. It's going to, I can't wait for you guys to hear it. I can't wait to get the comments from you guys on this one. Pretty big deal. So last month we did Haymakers for Hope. February we did Gilly's House. January we did the Scholastic Sports Zone Foundation.org. No new Patreon supporters this week. But I failed to mention Steve Atias in the chat. He's Steve A.T. He bought us a $5 box of popcorn that I forgot to mention last week. Things got a little hectic last week, so some stuff went by the wayside. Sorry about that, but really appreciate that. And this month's will be 100% of everything that's coming in is going out. So for Roseanne's charity, so we are up to actually that's incorrect. I haven't added the $5 in. We're up to $187. So. That's where we are right now. Hopefully we can get that a little bit higher. But if not, no biggie, because it's all good. It's all good. So thank you to everybody that's a Patreon supporter. Thank you to everybody that's donated. Really appreciate it. And any guys got anything to say about that?
I'm very much looking forward to the podcast with her. I really am. I mean, you guys know I've got a good connection to Boston, and at one point I regarded it as a bit of a second home. So it'll be I'm both pensive, apprehensive, and also very much looking forward to it, because you and I, Deej, have talked about that off air, after our second takeover Tuesday, and it was about 1 o'clock in the morning here.
Yeah.
And I remember having quite a in-depth discussion with you about that. So I'm very much looking forward to it, but pensive about it as well, because I suspect it's going to be quite a difficult thing to talk about.
Yeah. I think there's gonna be some editing going on in this one. So yeah, it should be. But what's funny is Roseanne and I are talking about it, and we're laughing the whole time, and then just like we're like, oh, I can't wait to do this. I can't wait to do this. But yes, it is. She is definitely like a lot like me, you know. And you'll hear. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be tough, but it's gonna be fun. Good times, right? Bright side.
And tell me again, Deej, what was her? I mean, obviously, she's from Boston. Remind me, because I think I remember. What's her involvement with it? Is it how has it affected her without spoilers for the show?
Spoilers? I'll give the spoiler. I mean, if you just click on the link, you'll see her story, so it's not really a spoiler. But she lost her leg. She was closest to one of the bombs. She literally was standing. There's images of her. You could see she's standing right next to where the bomb went off, next to the tree, and you could see her standing next to the younger brother that put it there, that put the backpack down. So, yeah. So it was, yeah. That's her. That's what happened to her that day, and that's that moment. But then it's like what happened afterwards. We'll get into all of that. So it's really quite an amazing story. So
I bet. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that or hearing about that. Yeah,
I mean, they all have amazing. The survivors have amazing stories. The families of the people that lost people, they all have them. It's been crazy here the last week or so. It's like everything, because it's been the 10-year. So it's like they all have amazing stories. I just happen to know Roseanne, so it just, I mean, it's like everybody in the area has it. It just like, so.
Everyone has it's such a close-knit community, though, isn't it? Boston and the surrounding areas, just, everyone seems to know everybody.
Yeah, and what's funny is it's like, look at, you go to 9/11 and you take a city like New York, right? And it's like, you think of off the top of your head, you're like, it's huge, millions of people. It suddenly becomes a close-knit community when something like that happens, right?
Yeah.
And it's sad that it takes that, but then at the same time, it shows you how, how great everybody can be when faced with adversity like that. So, yeah, got to take something positive out of it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It'll be good.
Yep. So, all right. We ready to get to? Let's see. Do we have any comments? Hang on. Now, taxes, DJ. Okay, we're good on that. All right. We ready to get to tweaks of the week?
Yep.
Alrighty. All right. You guguys don't have anything, huh? Nothing.
Nope. The way is clear for you. Landing.
All right.
Clear.
All right. I have had this one in there. Let's get this out of the bucket, right? I upgraded my bulb. I replaced the bulb in my projector, and John and Steve are laughing because that was 3 or 4 weeks ago. This has been in the notes.
It's been there quite a while.
This time last year.
Yeah. I had 217 hours on the old bulb, and I had the new bulb sitting there. So I was like, might as well do it. And I did it. And what was interesting is I knew my, all my settings. So when you add that bulb in, it's like it changes my settings from for the brightness and the contrast and everything. And I actually got to lower them by 2 to 3, I think, from max. Oh yeah, well, for the contrast setting went from max to, which is contrast gives you your peak brightness and stuff. I had that thing wide open to give me the best brightness on HDR. And I use grayscales. I use Spears and Munsell. I use the Video Essentials grayscales and stuff to make sure it matches right. I was getting, now with a new bulb, going from a bulb with, I think the last time I did it, well, it was probably around 2,000. So let's say 2,000 hours on the bulb. I had to go to max to get the same settings I went to with 91. So that's a substantial drop. That's, to get all of the grayscales to match up right for the brightness peaks. And then for the brightness peaks, which is ironically your contrast. But then your brightness setting, which adjusts your black level. Okay. So maybe the names aren't right. I went from 36 and I got to boost it up to 38. So I still had the same black level at 38 that I was getting. I had to lower that. So you see, I had to open it up to get that same balance and get that same depth of black. I actually was able with a brighter bulb, and that's all your contrast right there. So it's really interesting how that stuff works and what a brighter image can do. But you're still going to tone it back, which tells you, like, when you see these things like, I got a light cannon. Yeah, well, okay. How far are you shooting the thing? Because that's what the cannon's for, is the long distance. It's not, or a bigger screen. It's not, it doesn't do any good because you're just going to tone that bad boy back. So, anyways, so that was that one.
How much are the bulbs, Teach?
About $350 bucks.
Okay, so not too bad. And how many hours do you get out of a bulb? Traditionally?
I usually change them in about 2,000 hours, which with between me and my son, him playing video games like every night for a few hours, me watching content almost every day, gets us almost a year, maybe a little over a year. I think it was a year and 3 months since I changed it. So
it's not too bad, is it? It's not.
No,
on a multi-$1,000 projector, it's not too bad. And are the bulbs, are they evolving? Because you can't get the old-fashioned light bulbs anymore. They're all
No. You have to get the
specific. They're the same.
No, they're still the same. You have to get the specific bulb, and always I learned the hard way probably 3 projectors ago that when I bought a cheap bulb, it actually fried my projector. So I went online and I found, instead of paying like the $350, I found like, oh, look at this brand here. You can get this one. It's the same bulb. It fits in there fine. It looks identical, but it was like $150. So I was like, I'll get 2 of those. So I did. And my projector actually fried because of the power. And what Jim said when it happened, he goes, if you get the wrong bulb, it's the like impedance and stuff or whatever. I'm not savvy and all that, but the power that is trying to send it doesn't get to go all the way through, and it can back up into your projector, and it'll actually fry because these are sensitive pieces of gear, and it literally fried my projector. It was done. Nothing. There was nothing you could do about it. It just went and died.
Jeez.
So I needed a new projector, and it was all because of that. So highly recommend getting the correct bulb. And I always buy like this one here. I put this one in and immediately just ordered another one, and then I just put it on the shelf. So I always have a backup going.
And John, with your one then, with the short throw projector, then that's a laser one, isn't it?
Laser, yeah, 25,000 hours.
That?
No,
do you have,
no, it's rated for 25,000 hours. I will change the projector before it needed any kind of,
And will it deteriorate? Will the light? Sorry guys, I'm just curious.
It's not supposed to.
TV only, but I'm just curious.
It does, but it takes much longer for a laser to deteriorate over time, and it's a lot harder for your eyes to perceive it. Whereas a normal bulb, like you would probably start to notice around 2,500 hours. If I never did anything and then I swapped it out, and you'd be like, okay, 2,500 hours. You'd be like, okay, I see the difference there. With a laser, it's probably around 7,500 to 10,000, where you would be like, oh, okay, that's a new laser or a new projector. You'd be like, that's brighter. But you'd have to have the exact same scene and settings and everything to notice the difference.
Yeah, I think I'll change machines before I had any kind of issues with that.
Yeah.
So,
And presumably the short distance the lasers are being thrown should
Mhm.
theoretically mean there's less kind of draw, less wear
Yes.
on the lasers as well, wouldn't it? Would that make sense or not?
Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that's-
longer
that-
the distance, the greater the efforts to throw that
Mhm.
beam of light across that space, I would imagine.
Yep. That's and that's the idea of the short throws is they can run cooler, they can run, quieter. A lot of that. So, and lasers in general run cooler and quieter than a bulb typically does. So, but yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm
Good stuff.
never having owned one. It's all kind of still pseudoscience to me.
Right.
Pseudo.
Yeah.
But I think that's enough for tweaks of the week this week. Is I got a couple other things in here, but I'll save those for later. So,
Right. 3-4 weeks from now.
I'll give a roomie update. Actually, I will give a roomie update because much like I said last week, Nelson's asked me what I think of it. People have asked. I like it, but like I said last week, it's very much like it reminds me a ton of the Zapiti. It's a lot of hands-on tweaking behind the scenes, figuring out problems. There's no real. The problem with Roomie, the biggest problem to me is there's no like. Can I call somebody for a, like if I had a Harmony, you can't anymore. But if you had an actual product, you can actually call the company a help desk or something, right? Or support line. This is like, go to their forum. Okay. And you got to hope somebody found the same issue. Like I'll give you for instance, what I love about it is you can take any button and you can put macros underneath it, like ad nauseum, like whatever you want it to do. This one button can go boom, 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 and everything can happen. Fantastic. But what happens, like for some reason, I can do everything with my Marantz except those preset buttons, those quick buttons at the bottom. It shows me what they are. And on the Harmony, all I have to do is I programmed a quick set button. I said, I want it to play quick 1. Boom. That's my reference level. So I hit that and everything goes to reference level and everything's fine. But on the Roomie, I say play quick 1. Nothing happens. It won't work. I've talked to Ralph about it, and he's like, I don't use them, so I don't know. I'm sure there's a way I can actually program it to do it because you can do I haven't figured that out. But you see what I mean? There's like, it can do this because what I want to do is I want to hit play, have my lights go down, and have it go right to reference level. That's perfect for me. That's what I would love to be able to do with this. It's just not enabling me to do that. I got the lights going down when I hit play, which is great, but not the other thing. And so that was, that's my Roomie update. Speaking of the Roomie update, did anybody hear today's podcast, which is on the complete opposite spectrum of the Roomie? Did you hear today's?
Not yet. I haven't had a chance to yet.
I haven't either, actually. Not
Oh my
today.
God. Keith. Oh man. Keith Harrison of Total Home Technologies, which he does basically. It was funny. I'm talking to him at the same time I'm dealing with the Roomie, which is, like I said, it's home automation to the nth degree. It's insane. Like, I'll give you an example as a teaser for anybody that hasn't heard it yet. He's like, you go in your room and you hit the play button and you want the lights to go down, your movie to go to reference. He says this and go to reference level and the drapes to open up on the curtains to open up on the screen that you'd have or whatever. And he's like, I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. And he goes, well, how about you just walk in your room and you just you tug on the drapes to open it up and walk to your seat. And while you're doing that, all those things happen anyways. It goes in both directions. The code that he has, it's like, it'll be like, oh, you want to play a movie now because I felt the drapes move. The system knows. It's insane. Whole home systems that are just, but they're, super expensive, but super fun. Dreamland stuff. But I had so much fun talking to him. So much fun. And we'll get to that. We'll get to that in listener experiences. So you want to get to listener experiences?
Sure.
Yep.
There we go. All right. So first up, let me pull that up. Where did it go? There we go. Listener experiences. First one. John, you want to read that?
Sure. This is from Mark V. It says, Steve, thanks for bringing up IP Man with googly eyes. I've always loved these movies. I can't get the box set, but I was able to get the 4K Dolby Vision Atmos set for $9.99 from Apple TV. Did Kaleidoscape put Ip Man 3 in DTS for the bass in Tyson's Punch? DJ.
I don't know. That's a funny question. I don't know. I doubt it because Kaleidoscape doesn't put anything in anything. That's how it's just delivered to them.
Right.
For some reason. So maybe did they put it in, DTSX, for Tyson's Punch? Maybe. I don't know. I haven't even seen that one yet. So I don't know if the punches did. Have you guys seen it?
I haven't seen it. Well, Steve's seen them all. I haven't seen 3 yet. I haven't picked it up yet.
Yeah, it's he comes along at the end. He's the big bad guy at the end. No surprise. It's in the trailer. There's no spoilers there. Yeah. I mean, it's sort of stunt casting. There's no real kind of. It's a bit silly, and interestingly, they go away from that with the 4th one and go back to a bit more kind of normality. But yeah, nothing overly leaps out at me about the punches other than the normal stuff. Although it's a quick aside, I saw an interview with Donnie Yen the other day. During the fight with Tyson, he broke Tyson's finger.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
now,
wow.
that is not something sensible, I imagine, that you do with Mike Tyson. Not deliberately, but he did. And apparently Mike was good about it. But boy, oh boy, would I want to stay well away until I knew.
Right.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, when you're punching, if you miss your target, that's how you break a hand or break
He
your
caught it
finger.
on the elbow. He obviously you've got Donnie Yen with Wing Chun, so he's putting up his elbow like that, and he caught
Right.
the side of the elbow, and that's what broke his finger.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, but getting back to what Mark says, they're all good. The sound's good on them all. All of the box set ones are in Atmos. But I've only seen the box set ones once. So I'm waiting to watch 3 until you guys get it so that I can watch them again that way. But yeah, I mean, but the way he's done that, $9.99, if that's the only way to get them, get them.
It's a great
It's
deal.
4K, it's HDR, Atmos, it's worth having. But as I say, the box set's very good, but I would say that because I shelled out an absolute loads for it. So, but needs must. However you can get it, that's how you get it.
Yeah. All right. Moving right along. Steve, you want to read that one?
Yeah, I'm going to try. I'll try not to sound too London when I do it. All right.
There you go.
Okay, so now this one, right now, PK Hamu, who I thought was my friend, who's, a couple of weeks ago was lovely about my ability to communicate before my voice went. And I thought, I thought we were a match made in heaven, but it turns out love is a fickle master. And he now sends the following. He says, in the absence of Steve, John has truly shined. I think this is the longest he's spoken at a stretch. Loved his review of Mandalorian. And I'm sure after this, Jahan would gain more fans. Smiley face emoji. Insulted much.
I thought that was great.
Yes.
I see, but I don't think it's not
he's good at
it's
golf.
not. No, I know, but I was just going to say it's the two of us, and John. I've known John my whole life, and that's John and I are very much alike, but that's how we are opposites in that respect. It's like I don't want to say he's not outgoing. John's super outgoing. We've had a lot of fun, but he's very quiet and he's very reserved. So when John speaks, he's like, "What was that commercial?"
E.F. Hutton when John speaks.
People listen. And that's John. And then you put, you have me. When it was just me and John on chat or something, it was fine because we could balance each other out. But unfortunately, we added. Or fortunately,
Yeah, I'm the only one that keeps this from being a 5-hour show. So,
well, That's not true. I was all by myself and it wasn't 5 hours. But no, yeah, yeah, if you were just like us, you're right. It probably would be. It would be a 4 or 5 hour show. So,
He did.
Yeah.
He did touch a little bit of a nerve with me, because I do worry about that when I listen to this back, and I do listen to them and I do watch them.
yeah,
And when I do, and I hear myself going on and on and on, and I do wonder sometimes, am I doing that too much? And am I letting John talk, or you, Deej? You know, am I just jumping in when I shouldn't? And so it did, cause a little bit of a panic in me briefly. So yeah, what I'd say to you guys, and I think you know, is I'm talking too much. Just bloody tell me when my
give it
voice
another
comes back.
thought,
Anyway, yeah.
No, see, that's what's fun. I did that early on when John and I were first podcasting. I would listen back, and I was doing the same thing. I would either I'd go on with something, or talk over John when I didn't need to, and it'd be like trying to get it. Now, I still don't mind talking over somebody. I think I like it. It's a little bit more natural when we jump in on each other and stuff. But I think you'll find, Steve, that as you go on in real life, you'll be having conversations with people. And I know I did this, and all of a sudden I was like, in my head, I'm like, oh, look at me. I'm listening. I'm paying attention. And I found myself improving my actual life conversations, at least to me. Other people were like, we don't see the improvement. Well, in my head, I do, because I was ready to jump all over you, and I haven't said anything yet. So, hey, it's fun. It's fun. And we're not trying to be professional here. God knows, but we're having fun.
Carl just says have you seen that? Carl says we just forward you, Steve.
Fast forward. He corrected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's
Fast
what he meant,
forward him. Yeah. Danny, never talk too much, Steve. Yeah, I saw that.
Oh,
Yeah. All right. But I will say one last thing on this. Just like my wife, it takes a very strong man to sit between Steve and I. So, and my wife is super quiet, and everybody looks at me like, how do you, it takes just as strong a person to deal with me. Is if you think like, oh, DJ this and this. I'm like, it takes a strong person to deal with this, all of this, because I'm a handful. All right, that's all I have to say about that. This one here, I'll read this. This is from my new son-in-law. He texted me. He's like, you could do, when you do the 24-hour live stream, when it gets to the nighttime, calling it Dark Side Home Theater Podcast. He was joking. He sent laughing faces. But I think I like that idea, because people are calling for that. People have been calling for John and I to do Dark Side ever since we started Bright Side. So that might be an hour or two. We might go Dark Side. That could be fun. You guys have no comment on it.
Oh no! Well, hey.
well, I just think that if you went with Bright Side After Dark, people are going to think this is some sort of adult channel.
Right.
So do watch out for that.
Cinemax.
Yeah, especially with my voice.
Exactly. Well, it'll all be in one stream. And Steve, as long as you have that voice, we're good to go.
That's it. That'll do it.
Yep. This one here from The Shark. This is a Vox. It'll be in the show notes. It's why Top Gun won the Oscar for sound. And the one shark DM'd me this. And he's like, have you seen this? And I'm like, no. I'm like, but it's fantastic. I was so excited watching it. I wanted to get the guy on the show, but he was actually the sound engineer I think he was the sound engineer or something like that for Top Gun Maverick. And what they had to do to they show you the scenes, like especially the Dark Star, and it's like the plane doesn't exist. So how does it sound? And they show you the scenes where like, this is what I get in. And it's just nothing. It's just the scene with no sound to it. And it's like, now we have to put this in. And of course, we all know the scene is like, whoosh, and everything. It's an amazing thing. So that'll be in the show notes for people to hear or watch. It's not that long of a video either. I think it's maybe 10, 15 minutes, if I remember right. Something like that. So, all right. Next one. John, you want to grab that?
Yeah, from Ben Hayen. This was on YouTube. Comment from Iron Man 4K on Kaleidoscape. We were talking about the streamers at length that week. His comment, all the streaming networks are losing money. Same goes for music streaming services. It's a matter of who will be the last one standing. So,
yeah, I thought that was an interesting comment because I'd like to push back a little bit. I'm like, how do we define losing money? You think Disney's losing money? Maybe not making as much as they were.
Disney, the corporation, is not losing
Correct.
money, but Disney Plus may be losing money. But they're, same thing with like HBO Max and Warner Brothers. The one that would be in trouble would be somebody like Netflix, who doesn't have a giant corporate entity backing what it does. Like HBO Max could lose money, but Warner Brothers is still okay. Same thing with Disney Plus. If Netflix is losing billions of dollars a year, there's nothing else to prop up that company. So I think it either gets bought by Apple or Amazon or Disney, or they will, potentially be facing some challenges if they don't change what they're doing. I don't know how much the ad-supported tiers are contributing to what they're doing. I would imagine not a lot, because I don't think a lot of people are even messing with that. But my thoughts to your pushback, I guess.
Yeah, well, and that's what I said. Well, like where Ben says all the streaming networks are losing money,
right?
And I would, like Amazon, like you said, they're not losing money. This is just that's not losing money. Same with Disney Plus and Warner Brothers, and it's like these are all extra things that they do on top of. But that's what we've been saying for years about Netflix, and they could potentially lose the business because there's nothing else. So I think like in the case of Disney Plus, and a lot of businesses do this, that, they do things to boost the other part of their business where maybe they lose money over here, but the advertisement that they get out of it. Yeah, exactly. It's like when I started my business, is it losing money by paying a newspaper to run an ad? It's like, I don't get anything. It's not making me money until somebody calls. So you really don't know. But it's like Disney Plus itself, most of the content on there is already paid for.
Right.
So how are they, other than the new content that they're putting out, the new shows, how is that losing money? If people are getting on there to watch Endgame and which made billions of dollars, and Infinity War, which made billions of dollars, just those two alone are what, $4 or $5 billion between them. And now they're sitting there and people are like, oh, I'm going to get Disney Plus so I can watch all these things that add up to probably, gotta guess, hundreds of billions of dollars that have gone through Disney.
Right. So, and once again, that's where Netflix struggles, right? Because HBO Max has the same issue. They can just take content that's already made money in the theaters and then throw it on their streamer for free to them, because they don't have to pay for it. Netflix has to buy everything that they're showing. Even what they produce for themselves, they have to pay for. So, like, they don't have any free content that they can just put out there and, like, double dip and make just gravy money,
Right.
They have to have money coming in at like such a rapid rate to pay for the things they're doing, and they're not able to keep up with it,
Right.
So
Yep. So
yeah, I mean, excuse me. My understanding, though, from again this person who I happen to know quite high up in Disney, as it turns out, it's not though that these companies are necessarily losing money on these streaming platforms. The problem is they're not making money off them. And that's what's causing them all to suddenly think, hang about, do we want to do things differently? Because that's just not generating the revenue that they thought it would. So when you put Black Widow straight to Disney Plus, even if you charge $19.99 or whatever it was to watch it, it doesn't generate enough money to make it profitable. So and there's the difficulty. So, and again with Netflix, of course, they're fine as long as their subscriber numbers keep going up. But if they plateau, then that's when suddenly all this debt that they're in causes such issues.
Yeah.
So as I said, whether they're losing money, maybe not, but they're not making what they want. And then so you've got to look for other revenue streams, which is all good to us because it means hopefully we're going to get the discs.
Yes. Yes. And that's the other part of this. It's like they all want to make more. You know, it's like you're always trying to advance your product. And, you know, we talked about that last week, and hopefully that we are going to be the benefactors of all that. So, you know, hopefully the long wait is over.
It's coming.
It's been tough.
It's coming.
Yep.
No doubt about it. I mean,
Yep.
and you guys know because you've seen it. This particular person as well had a meeting with someone at the very, very, very top, and you know things are coming, guys. Good things are coming.
Yep. Can't wait. So, all right, next one. Steve, you want to read that one?
Yeah. So this one I think comes with a load of photos, doesn't it? So this is a Joe Klusnik. Klusnik, am I saying that right? Looks to be an email to Brightside Home Theatre.
Yeah.
And it says Portland Theatre is the title. And it says, I was excited to find the theatre display in Portland Airport. Featured gear from Triad Speakers, Stewart Film Screen, Trinov Audio, Middle Atlantic. I hope I'm going to get to the end of this. Barco Residential and more. And an install by the Erskine Group Inc. Sent from his
Joe's
phone.
iPhone.
Yeah.
So Joe, longtime listener, is going to be on a Takeover Tuesday soon as well. Been talking to him quite a bit lately about some other stuff that we're going to be where he's helping with. But yeah, he happened to be in Portland, and here's the images of him. I'll actually, let's go to full screen for these. That's him in front of it, and then you can see the posters. Pretty cool place, but wait till you get inside. And then I lost one image. It's not loading up. I can't remember what it was, but this place is really, really cool.
Yeah. Looks interesting.
The seats
Old
don't look
school.
very comfortable, though.
No.
I'm just saying.
I
Old
knew
school.
somebody was going to say that.
Old school
I'm
theater
just
there.
saying. Just
Yeah.
saying.
No,
Yes.
I know. Yeah, the old school theater.
But now, what are they showing? Like, they're not showing. Like, is this like where you buy tickets and watch move? Like, are you watching John Wick here, or like what are they showing at this theater? Or is it just like history of Portland, and you just go in and sit down because you have time to chill at the airport?
It looks like, it looks like the airport just put in a theater for like almost like a waiting room, maybe.
Right, because if you look at this pictures of the screens, you know, it looks like it's like documentaries or like informational things that they're showing. I can't really tell, but that's pretty cool though.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's and like you said, it's like
and a huge investment of money. Like none of that equipment is what you would call cheap.
No,
You know?
no, and that's just it. It's like it probably a sponsorship or something. It's probably like
Maybe.
a commercial, something like that. But yeah, it's crap. Hang on, my mouse was dying. Let's see. Yeah, with the Stewart and Trinov and Barco Residential and more.
So it's probably an ad for this Erskine Group.
Right? Could be. Yeah, pretty cool. I mean, I'd be amazed. And it's funny you say that about the seats because when I built this theater here, I actually said that I wanted something like this because this is what we grew up with.
Yes.
Right. Now, actually, I don't even know if they were that comfortable.
Right.
Well, when I was doing the install for mine in the months leading up to it, I thought about this as well because I thought, well, these are small and narrow. I could get 3 of each. I could get 2 lines of 6, 3. It'd be great. But then I'm thinking, yeah, but fine for movies. But what about these long form TV shows? What about these? You're going to be in there for long periods of time. Comfort is key.
Yeah.
So I shied away from this. I am glad I did, to be fair. But they're cool if you just want the look. But if you want the feel, I think that's your problem. But horses for courses.
What? What is
Different
that?
horse. I heard that different horses for different courses.
Oh, different horses for different
Yeah.
courses. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. No, that I get. I think you just shortened it, right? So I didn't
did
really.
say
For
that.
horses. Yeah.
Yeah, horses for courses.
Yeah, that's funny.
New one to me. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Moving on to the next one. John, can you read this one? Because I'm still loading some images.
For Steve J, which I'm assuming is G, George,
The J.
taking the fifth. YouTube video, I guess is what's linked down underneath. You only need to get to 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Item number 9 is a good description of Steve's least favorite flick. So I'm assuming Fifth Element.
Yep.
No, I haven't watched the video.
Yeah. I think this is
Taking the fifth. I get it.
I think this is PK. If I wasn't 100% sure on who this was with the name on it, but I think it's PK because he's the one that called Steve J. But yeah, if you click on the link, it's the top videos of what for home theater or something, and number 9 is it's the Fifth Element, and I started cracking up.
I'm sick enough, guys. Don't do this to me.
That's great. Oh, so good, so good. All right, let me see. I'm looking for another image here. I'm trying to work on the fly here. All right. We have one more. All right, cool. Actually, we have a couple more here. There we go.
Yeah, let me give you a break, Steve.
I was just going to say, John, could you read that again, please?
So this is from Mark V. This is on Twitter. It says, so I was leaving Walmart earlier and got a little freaked out. LOL. Too many movies? ? I say that because only Ghostbusters Afterlife popped in my head. The movie shots are lighter and discolored on purpose for definition, Steve. And yeah, there's a picture of like a giant cloud above a Walmart that looks very reminiscent of Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Those are great pictures, though.
Yeah.
Those are the mushroom cloud and everything. Those are great pictures. But yeah, it does look a lot like that.
Are we sure when he says GB Afterlife that we're talking Ghostbusters, though?
Yeah, and not
Ricky Gervais. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Yeah, you love that. You said that on Twitter too, didn't you?
Oh, yes. I couldn't avoid it. Couldn't resist.
That's so funny. That was funny that day. You were so confused.
Just my brain. It just saw GB and it did not go to Ghostbusters. Even though it said it right above it.
But what I like about it, and I like to bring it up, is like I do that all the time. So I know it's not just me. Not for that one, but I always screw stuff up. Oh, John, remember Pamela?
Pamela.
When we first started podcasting?
No, I don't remember that one.
So there's an audio recording software.
Uh-huh.
And we were starting up a podcast. This was before we ever recorded. And I'm looking at yes.
Oh, and you said Pamela.
And I was like, I found this new one. It's called Pamela. And I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And I sent it to John. And we were literally on a phone talking or something. And he goes, what the hell's Pamela? And I go, it's this one here. I sent it to you yesterday. He goes, you mean Pamela?
Yeah.
And I was just like, but no, I mean, I'm just reading stuff. I'm reading so much information, Audacity and this and that, right. Adobe Premiere and all these different things. And then there was one called Pamela, but I'm thinking fancy. I'm like, it's got to be
right.
Like, Pamela. It's an audio podcast or software or something. And I'm like, Pamela. And Sean was so confused. And I'm like, yeah, I'm an idiot. It's like,
and trying to train your brain to see it a different way is almost impossible.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Once that neural pathway is set, that's it.
Yep. Exactly. So, all right. Last one, John.
This is from Matt Nelson, YouTube comment from Iron Man 4K. Springtime is here, and I'm going to start listening to more of The Bright Side while I mow the lawn. With DJ putting all these enticements to watch the podcast, I see the logo is covering up the rest of the on YouTube. Does anyone have a suggestion for a good iPad mount for the lawnmower? Haha. ? So
I like that. I'm like, that's nice. All right. All my hard work on these videos.
Yeah,
actually
that
paying
logo.
off.
Yeah, that logo kind of covers up what I'm trying to read, though.
Oh yeah, I took it down.
Yeah.
So, but we do have it in the notes.
Well, I know,
So,
but I'm reading
I
from
know.
here.
Isn't
so
it nice to? Yeah, it's like
That way I
how
don't have to look away to read another tab.
exactly.
You know.
How far we've come. But yeah, that
I
one
know.
just came in today, I think, or yesterday, or something like that. I
Cool.
made sure to get that one in there. But thanks for the shout out there, Matt. That's appreciate that. People noticing the difference and trying to make a more engaging video podcast. But really appreciate that. But I don't know if there's a mount for. I don't know if that. I'd love to see what your yard looks like while you're watching on iPad.
Yeah.
Mowing the
I was gonna
lawn.
No mowing and watching.
I'm down a dog, but oh well. I took in the podcast.
And all my bushes.
Yeah. Exactly.
I can see another review now, DJ. It's like mowing the lawn in Dolby Digital.
Oh, that's awful. All right. Let me see if we have it. All right, we are good on these. All right. Let's remove that, and we will. Are you ready to go to? What are we up to now? Oh, coming
4K.
soon.
Yeah,
4K releases. Let's go. Boom. All right. We've got some, I think most of these are going to be right up Steve's alley this week.
What do you got this one?
You do?
Yeah,
Now this one here,
sorry.
what police, what's that?
Part of the
It's
police story.
Police Story 3,
Police Story 3,
Super
yeah.
Cop. Yeah.
Yeah, it was released in a box set
Oh.
about 3-4 months ago with 1 and 2, a 4K box set. Now that might have just been over here.
No,
But
it's here too, but it's a little pricey because I've been looking at it. It's about
Okay.
75. But well, I mean, I guess it's average, but it's about $75 for the box set right now. So
Well, I've watched the first one. I haven't yet got round to watching 2 and 3, but they get bigger and better as they go, and more dangerous and all the rest of it. But they are great movies and classics of the genre, albeit very different to what we've been watching recently. These are not wushu movies. These are kind of kung fu modern action, well, modern for the 80s and 90s action movies. So they are different, but they're very good. And the main thing being the stunt work on it is bananas. This is the one where Michelle Yeoh, you can see it on the cover there. She rides a motorbike off of a bridge onto a moving train, and she did the stunt.
Wow.
It's just incredible. So well worth watching and well worth seeing. But I would get the box set. I'm not sure why you'd buy this individually.
Yeah. I didn't even know any of them. I wasn't big into those.
You might
but-
have seen them, Deej, and not know.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
it's the kind of stuff that would have been on TV endlessly in the 80s and 90s.
yeah,
You might have caught some of them and not known that that's what you were watching. Because
Right.
they've got different names as well. So
Yeah.
that might have something to do with it. I bet you if you started to watch it, you'd be like, yeah, I've seen some
Oh
of
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next one, Triangle of Sadness. Do you guys know this one?
not
at all?
Never heard of it.
Nope.
No.
All right. Next up, we have. You want to take that one? It's the Acción Mutante.
Yes. Yeah, that looks Spanish, doesn't it? Alex de
Yeah.
la Iglesia. Alex of the Church. It's unusual, isn't it? De la Iglesia.
Oh.
Yeah, never heard of it.
Acción
Again, how
Mutante.
cool is it, though, that these are coming out in 4K?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
not, but before The Abyss and before True Lies. And like, so what's going on with the world? But
Well, that's
And Lethal
quite-
Weapon and Tombstone and
there's
Right.
Harry.
Yeah. Exactly. But that, I mean, those are all like popular, proprietary, people own and want to do it. And these ones here are like, sure, I'll let you do mine in 4K.
right.
Maybe
Oh,
people will actually hear of it now.
Carl in chat is saying outstanding film. Do you mean Police Story 3, Carl, or do you mean this one? Because if this is that good, then I am interested. So I'll be curious to know which
Yeah.
one he means. 'Cause it says outstanding, but I don't know if
He might have been talking about Triangle of
Oh,
Sadness.
of
Might have
course.
been. Yeah. It
Yeah,
looks
yeah.
hand grenade.
Yeah,
And that's
military.
is that a Criterion, I think, or something like
Yeah,
that? It
yeah,
looks
sure.
like it's from from them.
Yeah.
But up next, we also have The Man Who Fell to Earth. Is that David Bowie?
David Bowie. Yeah.
Yeah. And these are all coming April 25th, Tuesday, April 25th, for people listening on the podcast only. So, and then we have the Shiver of the Vampires.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Haven't heard of that one either.
No, it's a blank from me, I'm afraid.
Wow. Two
Same
orphan
again.
vampires? Steve?
There's two of them. They're orphans, and I've heard they're vampires.
You're interested in looking.
Hey,
packaging
that's why
too,
everybody
though.
comes here, for the great insight.
How
What'd you say,
Carl's
John,
just
about the
trying
I'm saying the
packaging?
packaging is very, very interesting.
Yes.
For both of those, it looks like the same studio for the last two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least this, I grab all these images from Blu-ray.com. That's where I get all this information. So, but yeah, it's I don't never heard of any of these. I was hoping Steve had.
No, I must admit, when I look through the notes, I'm thinking, what? And what? Hey. So, no, sorry, no.
Yeah. All right, and the last one, Justice League, the superheroes. Justice. What is this one, John? Do you know?
It's
this?
Justice League Ruby. Ruby
That
is
does
an
say
anime.
Ruby?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's Ruby. Yeah, they've done a couple of comic book crossovers and things. Ruby is an anime property.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a video game. Yeah, that's something DC's been doing for a while with them.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm not familiar with it really. I just know that they exist. I've got a few customers that follow the Ruby and were, really into the crossovers.
Oh, okay. That's how you found out.
Yeah, that's the only reason why I know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's his job to know.
it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, all right, that'll do it for this week's or for Tuesday's 4K releases coming on April 25th. So we are to our personal favorite part of the show.
Yes, Carl knows about those vampire movies. Talking
Yeah, he
about,
does. Yeah.
Oh, does he?
classic vampire
Let's
movies.
see. What do
yeah.
we got?
70s horror movie podcasts.
Oh,
Paul.
vampire I hate when they exploit vampires.
Yeah, me too.
It's just not fair to the vampires.
Things.
They're so underrepresented.
All right. We ready to get to our real home theater experiences for this week and for Steve for the past 2 weeks?
Oh, yes.
Let's go. All right, Steve, why don't you start us off with this little guy? It's been a
Yes,
lot
indeed.
of talk about this. I've heard some good things, actually, so I'm interested to hear your take.
Yeah, so film first. I had a great time with this. This is as a movie, it is Route One, bog standard, simple story. There's no subtext, pretext, or any other text. It is just a very fun, very simple story that skews young because of that.
Okay,
But
let's say what it
colorful.
is.
Yo,
For
sorry,
people listen to the audio only, we're talking about Mario Brothers movie.
Oh yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, so Super Mario Brothers. You may have heard of it, as you say.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's super bright, super colorful. It's great fun. And if you like the games and you're into that kind of thing and you want something that's just nice and not challenging, it is very good indeed. And this will be, I think, a demo disc when it hits 4K. This should be fantastic. There are some very clever scenes and sequences. There's a nice, and for people of a certain age that we are, there's quite a nice scene with Donkey Kong and Mario doing what they used to do in the old days on their games. And the camera is swooping and it's in a big arena and it's all sort of moving around. It should be absolutely amazing. The only downside is we won't get it in 4K for ages because it's just going gangbusters in the
Yeah, it's
cinema.
making all the money in the
Oh
theater.
my gosh. Yeah. It's gonna breeze past $1 billion.
Yeah.
So we will not see this in 4K probably till Christmas. But I can't wait. It's really, really fun.
You think
So
this is the next Maverick for that in that way, like where they held on to Maverick forever in the theater, let it play out. And so you think
I
this
think
is
it
the
will.
next one to do that?
Yeah, but also I think Maverick's a good example, not just in terms of holding on to it, but in terms of must-have discs, because the HDR and the wider color gamut on this will be phenomenal. This could almost be a 3D movie without the 3D. On a really
Right.
decent screen, is properly calibrated. It will look incredible. Every sequence is colorful like you just would not believe. So I can't wait. And this is, and again, a bit like Maverick for me, this will be a film that I could just watch over and over and over because it's so simple and kind of silly and just not pretentious in any way. Just you could chuck it on. It's only 80 odd minutes long. It's not long, and just let it wash over you. It's great. I'm really looking forward to seeing it again. I don't think I'd go back to the cinema and see it again, but I am really looking forward to watching it. And I know, because you and I briefly spoke about it, didn't we? Or texted about it, and I can understand the reluctance if you're not a gamer and you're not that attached to the characters. But for a pure theater presentation point of view, it's worth seeing.
Yeah.
In the cinema, I think you'd be very pleasantly surprised by it.
Well, I did pre-order it, so after
good man.
talking with you, I was like, oh, all right, I'm getting it. I want it as soon as it drops. So I was hesitant because if it wasn't very good, I wasn't going to grab it because I had no heartstrings pulling me towards it. I did play the game. I know all the characters, or I think I know all the characters, but it wasn't a big deal to me growing up. This came kind of after my time. Their heyday came after my time. My brother was really into it. Did you play it a lot, John?
Yeah, I was actually pretty into it when I first got my Super NES system. I played a ton of Mario. Yeah.
Have you been to see it, John?
I haven't seen it, no, but I will watch it, because I am interested in it.
Yeah.
I just don't know that I'll get to the theater for it. I'll probably wait.
Yeah, I mean, you'll get everything out of it on a good 4K disc. I mean, it'll just still blow your mind. But this could be disc of the year. I don't know. It's early days to say that. But in terms of sheer color, HDR, and decent sound as well, this really will be the Puss in Boots of this year, I think. I
Nice.
genuinely think it will. It's really fun. But again, not tied to anything difficult, nothing over the top about it, just fun. Yeah, that it was great. I see a lot of people in the chat giving it giving it props
Carl's
as well.
seen it, Chris Brown.
Yeah, Chris. Yeah. Not the Chris Brown, I'm assuming. But who knows?
I mean, we are, making waves, so it could be.
Who
Yeah.
was the other guy from the other day? Who was the one from the other day, Deej? Who
When?
was the other one said it's not that one? Who
What's
was the
not
listener that we had someone in the listener that was someone sounded famous, but they're not that one, you said. was
Oh,
that?
yeah. Oh, somebody. Yeah. And I was all I can't remember the name. It was somebody they had oh man, I don't remember. Yeah. But it was like a Chris Brown or something like that. But I know who you're talking about. It'll come to me later. Don't quiz me in the middle of a show.
Sorry, I apologize. This is great.
I swear to God, I couldn't spell my middle name right now.
Jay?
I've always been Jay. Yeah. It's the period in between the D and the
Right.
J.
Where does it go?
Oh, all right. Well, seeing that, Steve, you have quite the list here. So, which one would you like to go with next? Knowing that we're keeping the big one for the end, you know that.
Okay.
So,
Should we
which would
do-
you like to go to next?
Number one next. My number one.
You'd
I'll
have to
just
say
talk
what it
about
is because
this.
I'm not looking at that. I just have them all queued up.
The Lighthouse.
Oh,
I've got to get this off my chest. I've got to talk about this. Got to talk.
There we go.
Okay.
What happened? Off your chest? That doesn't sound too good.
Off my chest and off my throat.
Yeah.
Right. So this is a Robert Eggers film. Now, Robert Eggers directed The Witch, which I don't think you two have seen,
No.
but it's very good. But he also directed The Northman, about which there has been some discussion on this show. And I
little
think
bit.
you and I, Deej, are fans. John, you're kind of getting there slowly but surely.
Yeah.
After
Maybe
the
another
400th
watch.
review.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so I really like The Witch, and I really like The Northman, which I think is a modern classic. So I bought this on Blu-ray because I knew the 4K disc was coming, and I found it cheap when I was at court a few weeks back. And I sat down on an afternoon, house was empty, and I thought, I'm going to just give this a go. And this is a story about two people, an older person, a younger person, going to a lighthouse for 2 weeks, or so they think. And it is a gothic horror film where, within short order, it's all in the trailer, things go wrong and they start to lose their minds. Carl, put your fingers in your ears then, because I'm about to suggest something different. Carl says it's brilliant. So I watched it, and it's in 4:3, by the way. Don't let that picture fool you. The whole thing is 4:3, so bars either side of the screen for those that are
Okay.
initiated. So as a film, I didn't enjoy it, at least with first time watch. It's not got any narrative to it, or the narrative breaks down when they start to go crazy. And I just lost the patience with it. I lost the thread of it. And as much as I was in sort of thinking, well, it's gothic horror, it'll be okay, it just lost me in the middle of it. And I just began to think it was just disappearing up its own backside. There are some good bits, Willem Dafoe in this has got some very salty, old man of the sea dialogue, which is great. Everything is says I, or he tells thee, says I. It's all a bit like that. So there's some good stuff in it, but it just disappears up its own backside as it goes on. So the film is not good. However, what is interesting, guys, and this is what I really wanted to talk about more than anything else, you've got a movie that is evoking deliberately old school gothic horror. Okay, so you've got black and white and Stygian blackness, and everything's, and all done very grainy and again in Academy ratio, so 4:3 ratio. But that's old school. But what it's married to, what it's tied to, is a state-of-the-art audio mix.
Ooh.
The audio on this is bananas. And I would love to listen to it in Atmos. As much as I didn't enjoy the film, the audio has a life of its own. So it's got a DTS HD 5.1 track. Obviously, we upmix everything to Neural X, and it's like an animal. This has with mermaids, Carl. Yeah, you're right. I'm trying not to spoil it, Carl. Come on. Anyway, so it has the island, the lighthouse is like an animal. It's like a beast, and it has a beating heart, and it has a life of its own. And so whilst you're watching this film, there is the kind of the foghorns going off, but they're not like a normal foghorn. And they have to keep feeding this fire that they're stoking to keep the lights on, because it's set in the late 1800s. And it's got this life of its own. It growls and it hums, and it is really clever. And you've got seagulls flying around, and you've got all this kind of stuff as well, and storms and everything else. So its audio mix is something else. It really is. And this might be one, DJ, if you can get it cheap, that it'll be worth it just for that. You'll hate the film. You will hate the film. I'm telling you now, DJ, you will be like, what the hell is that all about? But the audio is something else. And so, again, the same with you, John. If you can see it cheap, and if you want to give it the time, and it's over 2 hours, and when you're not talking about narrative, that time does drag. But the audio is very cool right from the very beginning. So it's an interesting film. I'm going to keep it. I'm not going to get rid of it. I'm not going to get the 4K disc, at least not anytime soon. Even with an Atmos track, I wouldn't buy the 4K disc. But I'll be curious to see what you guys make of it if you do give it a go. Just don't put it to the top of your list. Carl, just look at it, Carl, what did you make of the audio? If you've seen it at home. Sorry, guys, just because Carl's seen it. I'm curious to see what he makes of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds very intriguing though, because what's funny is you're saying like I won't like it, but I don't know. I'm like, sometimes we differ. I mean, we differ on a lot of things. We like a lot of the same things, but who knows? Maybe I would like it. But just that the idea of like the audio being that great, I'm like, man, super intrigued.
what was quite cool as well, which added to it for me, is we've got a listener, Dominic. I can't think of his surname. He's the Irish chap who's the fireman in Ireland, and his dad was on a lighthouse and spent time on a
Yes.
lighthouse and used to come
Yeah.
out. And he was telling me about one time that his dad got trapped on this lighthouse island. He was supposed to have been there for 4 weeks, and he was there for nearly 6 months.
Oh wow.
And they nearly ran out of water. And it was all kind of, and so I had that in my mind as I was watching this and thinking, oh, this will give it some, some
Yeah.
truth. But this is bonkers. So
Ugh.
yeah, guy, what on Carl, yeah, he says the mix is brilliant. I agree. The sound is fantastic. The movie is just odd. But see what you think. But just be warned, Deej, be warned. Be warned.
Yep.
Yeah, it is like that. Be warned. There are scenes of Robert Pattinson satisfying himself more than once.
Oh, I'm
That's
in.
all I'm saying. Yeah. You had me at hello.
I was just going to say, I'm like, it was either going to be me or John, but I'm like, what? So are you trying to talk us into it or out of it? I'm
Well,
like,
you'll never watch Batman the same way again. That's what I'm saying.
oh man, if this was a different podcast, John and I.
Yes.
I know.
All right.
To be fair, Paul has got it. Paul is just saying there, I think it's one of those didn't love it, but glad I saw it movies. Yeah. I would say, Paul, it's one of those I didn't like it, but I'm glad I saw it movies. So, but I will revisit it.
I have a feeling that line is going to be one of our next reviews.
Oh yeah.
It's one of those podcasts. Didn't
It'll
love
be
it.
on the
but-
back of my T-shirt.
Yeah, glad I saw it. All right.
Oh,
That's great. Let's see. Jeff Shabbat jumping in with agreed. 5.1 is really good. It's a genre film, very artistic. Music by Mark Corvin, who also did The Witch. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, The Witch is fantastic. The Witch I've seen several times. I've got that in 4K as well, and that's really good. The Northman is still his best film for me. I love that movie.
Yeah.
But but there you go, Deej. That talking about the sound mix in that.
Yeah.
Take that and amplify it by about 10, and then
Really?
you've got the Lighthouse. Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah, yeah,
God.
Yeah. You wait and see it.
You guys go on. I'll be back.
You'll feel like
He's
the
just gonna go
movie-
pleasure himself.
TJ's gonna go Robert Pattinson it. Guys, talks amongst yourselves.
Yep.
But you will feel like your theatre room has come alive, has become this creature. It's
Yeah.
really unusual. So yeah, give it a go.
That
Just
sounds
don't
great.
spend a lot of money on it.
Yeah. Okay, so only buy it once.
Right. Don't buy it. Don't buy it 3
I'll
times.
just buy it once. Oh man, but I will. I'll probably buy it once, and then they'll come out with the object-based version. And I'll be like, oh well. All right. You still got quite a few here. Why don't you do one more, Steve? Or do you need a break and let John talk?
Well, I can do another one quite quickly because it's not really theatre. I just want
Okay.
to hear so I can tell people about it.
Give me the title. Shoot me
Dead
a
Man's
title.
Shoes. Dead Man's Shoes.
Yes. Boom. There we go.
Now, okay, so anybody in chat, hopefully you've seen that because I'm assuming neither of you have seen it or heard of this.
No, I looked for it.
Oh, is it not? Please
Streaming.
tell
I
me it's
couldn't find it
available over there.
streaming anywhere. I mean, I'm sure the Blu-ray's available, but it's not on any streaming services.
Okay,
that
so
I
it's
could find.
So as much as I would say to you both, the Lighthouse, stream it or buy it cheap, this is a film that should be bought immediately.
Really?
This is one of my favorite films of all time. And what's interesting about this is it was a blind buy. I picked it up a few years ago at a local DVD shop, Blu-ray shop, because the reviews were really good. Blind buy, took it home, and it was instantly one of my top 5 movies of all time. It is fantastic and utterly engrossing. Very quickly then, this is Paddy Considine is the lead role. I know it might sound like I've got a bit of a thing about Paddy Considine, although he is very good. So he's in the lead role. And no spoilers from me, he plays a chap called Richard, who returns to a small town to find that his brother, who is has special needs, has been bullied by a group of local people and sets about righting those wrongs. Now, it is not it's not a rip roaring rampage of revenge. It is a very low budget British movie where lots of the dialogue was improvised. Loads of it was, but it is utterly riveting. It's fantastic. And there are lines and there are sequences and there are scenes in this that will blow your mind. There are callbacks to First Blood Deej in terms of kind of what he's wearing. There are some graphic stuff in this, but it is fantastic and it is not all as it appears to be. I'm not going to say any more than that in terms of the story. Home theater wise, it's ultra low budget, guys. It's grainy.
Yeah.
It's it does have 5.1 surround. Up next to Neurodex, there's some thunder and lightning and stuff towards the end, which does go up and over the room. But that's not the reason to watch it. The reason to see it is for superb acting, a fantastic story, and genuinely one of my favorite films of all time. So I only drop it in here because I want to publicize it and tell more people about it.
Nice.
And I pray and hope if you guys see it,
It is
that
not
you-
available.
that you, oh bloody damn it!
Yeah, it's not on Kaleidoscape
Only
either.
DVD.
Ooh.
You can buy DVD, but you can't buy it in Blu-ray.
Would it be worth? I mean, it'd be worth importing it if you can find it sensibly. It is that good, guys. I mean, this film is fantastic.
Well,
And luckily, I've met Paddy Considine. I met him a few years ago on a screening of another one of his films, and I got to speak to him about this, and I got to tell him it was one of my favorite films. And he was talking to me about his experience of making this. But you will, and again, Deej, knowing you as I do, and John, you as well, none of you will have there won't be a dry eye in the house at the end of this.
Ooh.
It's fantastic, guys. It really is.
Yeah.
And as I said, I only race it not because of home cinema, because I just want everybody to see this film. So
problem
you'll find
is
bits of
the
it on
Blu-ray is region locked, so we can't.
Oh,
we can't
right.
get it.
Yeah.
irritating, isn't it?
Yeah, we can't.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, maybe the DVD if you had to, but it's not a looker. It's not like you'd have to get. It's not going to look even on the Blu-ray. It doesn't look stellar, but it looks okay. But
They
I
say
highly
about me. He's
recommend
not
this.
a looker, but
Well, I didn't like to say. But this is an absolutely fantastic movie, guys. So anybody that
Cool.
can, wants to see it, see it. It's really, really good.
all
There you
right.
go. All righty.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now I'll take a rest.
All right. John, which would you like to go with?
Just throw one up and I'll talk about it.
All right. Let's hit you with your best shot. There we go.
Ooh,
All right.
yeah.
So The Last Kingdom, Seven Kings Must Die. This dropped Friday on Netflix. This is a follow-up to the series. And unlike the Luther film, this is not really standalone. If you haven't
damn.
watched the series, I take it back. Like the movie does have a self-contained story, but
Okay.
it's every character's returning and lots of references go back to the series. I think you probably could watch this movie. I just don't actually know why you'd want to if you haven't watched. Well, I mean,
Right.
if you haven't
I
watched
know what
the
you mean. Yeah, yeah.
series, I'm not sure. This is just a bookend. The show
Okay.
ran for 5 seasons, and it definitely had an end. And this is kind of like the punctuation.
Oh.
It does wrap up, the end of the story. But again, this was streaming in 4K HDR, no Atmos, 5.1. But again, we do upmix everything. I had been looking forward to this because I really liked the series. And yeah, this didn't disappoint. It looked great. It still sounded excellent with the upmixing. This is a medieval, sword and, a lot of battles, Braveheart type of movie. And it's excellent. The series was great. The movie itself was really, really well done and had a great story. Like I said, and a great bookend to the series. For anybody that has watched it. Now, anybody that's watched the series is probably already keen to this. I'm not really telling you anything. But if you haven't watched the series, I'm not sure that you want to
Okay.
jump in here.
That's That's what I wanted. That's not what I wanted to hear. I was really,
Yeah.
I saw the ads for this and I was really excited for it. I'm like, it looks good. I've never seen the series. I never got into it, and now we're 5 seasons into it.
It's pretty deep, at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
You'd have to, you'd have to invest
Yeah.
some time to watch it all.
I was
I
hoping it was
still think it's-
standalone.
I think it's very, time very well spent, because I think the show was excellent.
Yeah.
But knowing you and the time you have available right now, you just won't get through it.
Yeah.
Steve, I don't know if you've watched it, but I
haven't
think
actually
you would
heard of
enjoy
either.
it.
Yeah, it's my kind of thing. Yeah.
It's very old, very old England in like the 700s. It's semi historical, like it is based on some real people and real events. Although, I mean, again, it's dramatized to no end, I'm sure. But yeah, this is very, very cool and well worth the watch.
Cool. All right. All right. Steve, I will just let everybody know right now, I have nothing this week. I have the one that we knew about, and I did watch a show. We'll get to that and whenever these guys would like to. But yeah, I sat down last night. I had a hockey game last night. My league started back up. I've been very, very busy all week long. And I said to my wife, I was like, I haven't been down to the theater in all week. And she's like, I know. And I was like, you know what? I'm really happy that my show was going to be fine. Like, I'd be stressed out. And I'm like, nope, we're good. I'm watching the notes. I put the show together. That's, did all that, but I haven't been able to. I got a couple of comments coming up. I did get into my theater today. So I got some late breaking news that we'll get to, but yeah. And I'll tell you this, taking some time away and sitting back down in there today, I was like, wow, this is nice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, all of it, when you,
Like a
when
palate cleanse.
yeah, you feel like all of a sudden you're like, wow, that is a really nice image,
Right.
and it's like, wow, ooh, sound from behind too. Cool. All right. No. So yeah. So, sorry, I can't really participate, but I am. So running things behind the scenes this week. All right. What would you like next, Steve? What do you got up on deck?
Well, we've gone from Super Mario Brothers, so let's go to something else lighthearted: The Passion of the Christ.
Oh, jeez.
Now, because
it's like
it
on
was
every
Easter-
level.
Yes, well, quite.
I know.
Very, very quickly. I mean, everybody that's anyone that knows, wants
Yeah.
to see this film has seen it by now. And it was Easter, and I thought, you know what? This, if ever in the year I could rewatch this on the bigger screen, because I've not seen it in the cinema room.
Yeah.
I thought, now's my chance. And now it's a hard film to talk about because it's a bit like Schindler's List. You can't like and enjoy this
Right.
film no more than you can Schindler's List and any other number of hard to watch movies, because it is
Yeah.
very difficult to watch. But that's the point.
Right.
I see this as a horror film. I think this is a horror movie all day long. To the certain extent where I think it almost trips over into torture porn. It's not far off it in terms of just what they do and how they do it and everything else. I mean, it's properly done. So as a movie, it's the film. I'm not going to tell anybody anything about it that they haven't already seen. From a
Right.
home theater perspective, it's not bad. This is obviously on 1080p disc. It's not in 4K. I'm not sure how I'd feel if it came out in 4K. I don't know if I'd buy it or not. I just don't know. So the image quality is showing its age a bit. All the dark stuff at the beginning is quite grey. There is quite a bit of softness throughout this. And also, interestingly, Jim Caviezel's eyes, they CGI'd them. They are blue and they've CGI'd them brown. And that's never been more obvious than watching it now. I mean, it looks like someone's just colored in the film.
Yeah. It's still not as bad as Henry Cavill's mustache.
No, well, that is true. That is true. Yeah, or lack thereof. Yes.
Exactly.
So So the image quality is okay. It's nothing to write home about. Not as good as I hoped it would be. I was looking forward to seeing detail in the costumes and the stone and the brickwork and the shadow detail, and there's not really much of that. But the audio is very good. I mean, that there is some nice envelopment. Again, Neuralex. So in the crowd scenes, there's lots of movement all around. You get I'm sorry to say, when the whipping, the flagellation scene, you get there is one particularly unpleasant shot, whereas the cat of nine tails digs in and they pull it out. You get a spray of blood, which goes right over to the corner of the room, and you just get that sort of that squishy sound, which is vile, and you can almost feel it hit you. If that makes sense, the audio is so icky and it moves so quickly that you almost feel like you've been hit with this stuff, which I'm sure is what Mel Gibson intended.
Yeah.
So you do, and then towards the end, you then get obviously the thunder, and then the lightning bolt that cracks the earth, and that is very nice because you get the rumble overhead, and then the base of the thunder and the lightning hitting.
Yeah.
So, it's a decent home cinema experience. If that's your kind of thing, that's probably what I'd say.
Yeah. This one reminded me of a lot of the sound, like you were talking about, reminded me a lot of another Mel Gibson, Braveheart. And a lot of the torture and the sound effect, there were, like you said, like Cat of Nine Tails going over you and stuff. The detail that's in that is what's so cringing. Like you're just like, "Ugh." And it was the same in Braveheart, and a lot of those torture scenes, or any of those scenes where you would just it's those little tiny noises that you're like, oh, I don't even like hearing that, and it's just, but yeah. It's like you said, it's like any of those movies, like Schindler's List, All Quiet on the Western Front, 1917, any of these movies where you're just like, whew, you're tired at the end.
Yeah, but again, it's what's intended, isn't it? You're
Yeah.
going
Oh yeah.
It is an endurance test. But
yeah,
I was engaged. I tried to feel less guilty about eating chocolate eggs as I was watching it. But there it is.
Two extremes.
Yes,
The
absolutely.
Passion of the Christ, the Easter Bunny.
I'm sure it's what he would have wanted.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, jeez. All right, John.
Yeah, hit me.
Hit you.
Yeah,
All right.
whatever.
Let's see. What is this?
Yeah, so this is a series on Netflix. It's called Caron.
Okay.
This is an Italian show. You'll have to read the subtitles unless you speak Italian. This is like a supernatural mystery thriller. I'm only 3 episodes in so far, so I can't tell you all about it because I'm still trying to figure it out. But this does run in Dolby Vision 5.1. And again, it's a supernatural show, so pretty dark, lots of sound design that goes into this with all the spooky effects. And it's been really good so far. I'm really enjoying it. I watch a lot of Italian TV. I just don't talk about most of it because most of them are not home theater things. But I watch a lot of shows in Italian because I'm trying to learn Italian. And I will watch this show with English subtitles once so I can see the story. And then I'll rewatch this 2 or 3 times with Italian subtitles so I can take it in. But all that being said, it's a good show. I enjoy it. Like I said, you will have to read the subtitles. But it's got some really good HDR and a lot of dark scenes, a lot of good shadow details, and like some pretty good sound design. So it would never show up on your watch next on Netflix queue unless you watch a lot of things in Italian.
Right.
But it is there and it is pretty decent. So
Nice. All right. Let's see. Steve, you ready for another one?
Yeah, let's give it a go. My voice is starting to fade fast, guys, so I'll probably have to nip out in a minute and get some more water. Just bear with me.
That's fine.
Although having just touching on that one, John. So you watch a lot of Italian films and shows.
Yes.
There's a film come out about a couple of Italian plumbers a couple of weeks ago.
I know.
They spent a lot of time in tubes.
Problem is, it's not in Italian. It's in English.
Yeah. You'd never know. I mean, they do say "let's go." I mean, surely that's about as Italian as anything.
Let's go. Yeah.
You'll have to import the Italian DVD.
I will.
Blu-ray.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, so well, let's do the Texas Chainsaw Massacre then. Let's just do that one. Another
Let's-
light-hearted fare.
yeah. Exactly. Well, it kind of is, isn't it?
No. So
Was when we were kids. Yeah.
it was banned here for the longest time.
I know.
I mean, it was one of the video nasties of the 80s that you just couldn't get here. So many of us just didn't see it until much later. This is the new 4K issue of it in Dolby Atmos. Of all movies that you cannot imagine having a Dolby Atmos soundtrack, it would be this, and yet here we are. So this has just come out here. It's been out there a couple of weeks, I think, if not longer. And the movie's the movie. Nothing I'm going to say about that. If you haven't seen it by now, where have you been? And so you'll know if you want to see it or not. But the disc is fantastic. And I've seen this movie on DVD, bootleg DVD back in the day, DVD, Blu-ray, special edition Blu-ray, special day of the week Blu-ray, and then this version. And it is absolutely incredible what they've done with this. It was shot primarily on 16 millimeter and on a shoestring budget. This movie was shot for nothing, and yet it's never looked better. The colors leap off the screen. There is detail in the image that you just would never imagine. It looks fantastic, and as good as how it looks, the Atmos audio actually has a purpose.
No.
Because I just thought there's not going to be anything in this that there might be some crickets chirping in the surround channel. That's what you're going to get. But oh no, there are sequences towards the end. Spoilers. I'm not going to say anything about what happens. But there is a sequence towards the end where the characters are downstairs in a dining room. Another character goes upstairs to fetch someone else, and they go up into the overhead channels. They're moving around upstairs as if they are right above your head. And then they come back down and into the room. And it is very, very cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, you just don't expect it in a movie from 1974, year I was born. So, you just
Gonna
don't
say
expect
it's coming up on 50 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, shh. Made me feel old. Okay. So.
Good.
Yeah,
Catch up to us.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm talking to the wrong people here if I want sympathy. So they go, so it goes up and over. And then in one of the last sequences, someone has a chainsaw, spoiler alert, and they're swinging it around. And as they swing it, the chainsaw is going, and it goes up to the upper part of the front stage, to the side, and down, up and around like a
awesome.
Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
It's really, really clever. And you just wouldn't expect it from this movie. I was really chuffed and really pleased with this release. This is a very cool edition, the ultimate edition of this film.
Yeah.
And if you've got a 4K player, you like this movie, this is a must buy because it's great. It's really, really good. Now, I don't know what's your two relationship with this? Because I imagine you'd be like, well, it's just not our thing. John's maybe, but how do you guys view this?
I mean, I've seen it. I think it's fine. Like, I'm not. It was never anything that I was super fond of, but I've definitely seen it. I don't have the disc. I don't know that I'll pick it up, honestly.
It's for fans only. I mean, I think
I was going to say I probably will now. I've seen it, and I've seen it over the years, but it was a bigger deal when we were kids because it was like, did you see that? Like, if you saw this, it was like, you got to see it. How'd you see it? And especially for our age, when you were high school, even junior high for us, anywhere around the 13, 14 years old, and you were able to get your hands on this VHS copy and be able to it was like you over there, it was banned. Well, your parents aren't letting you have it. You had to know somebody, and be able to get a copy of it. And then it was just kind of look at what I'm watching. And the actual movie itself was secondary. It was more just to be able to say you saw it. So that's kind of how when I watch it now, or when I've seen it, you're like I go back to it. It brings that back, not the actual what you're watching on the screen. So I'm hoping maybe the new audio and everything, I'll be like fully engaged for real.
Well, it does increase the ick factor to
Yeah.
it. I mean, there's a point where one of the characters is eating barbecue, and I've
Yeah.
always found it it's a bit like, oh God, it turns your stomach just watching it. Now, in this version, where you've got the extra resolution and the color, it genuinely looks like he's chewing on somebody's toe.
Oh,
It's
geez.
just like,
Nice.
as I was watching it, my stomach was just beginning to turn. And
Yeah.
It's always been bad. But in this version, it's like, oh my God. It's like, oh, dear, oh dear. So don't eat beforehand, guys. You won't
Yeah,
want to
see-
eat afterwards.
See, sometimes that's, for me, sometimes that's easier. It's when it's subtle or off screen. Sometimes those are what your imagination is worse. It's like with me, with my eye, I end up looking at it going, well, does that really look like a toe? Does that because that's
It's how
and
it
that's
always has, yeah.
see, I always go into, that's why I have a hard time with horror movies, is like I always go into the realistic part, like the behind the scenes of like, I know this isn't really happening. So I get into all the magazines. My head goes back to like Fangoria and how we used to try to duplicate that stuff in the art room, what we saw in movies, and try to make it look bloody. And I was the one in junior high. Remember Mr. Paul, John?
Oh yeah.
And I learned how to cut a razor blade. So, like, you could take a razor blade and cut it. So I cut it to the shape of my finger, and then I put it on there, glued it on there, and then I found out that when you use the crazy glue and let it run down, if you paint that crazy glue, because of the properties of the crazy glue and then the paint never goes dull. Like if you paint yourself with like acrylic paint on your hand, it dulls as it dries. Well, on crazy glue, it keeps that nice shine. So you put this all on and it looks like you put a razor blade right through your finger, and you go up to Mr. Paul and go, Mr. Paul, I gotta go to the nurse. What happened? He's like, get out of here. And then you go, he goes, all right, just get back down. Sit back down. But I love doing all that stuff. So when I watch these movies, that's what I'm thinking is like, how are they doing that there? I was like, is that rice or is that really, So, but yeah, it could be fun.
This is well worth. Again, fans of the film should pick this version up. This is why we have 4K versions. This is why we want classic movies done right, looking better than ever and sounding better than ever. This is what we want. So yeah, it's great.
Cool.
Really, really pleased with this.
Cool. Kind of excited. All right. Chainsaw woozing around. I don't know what to say. Whooshing. There you go.
Whooshing around.
Whooshing around my room. People walking upstairs. I've had dogs barking in movies, and I'm like, I want to quiet my dogs, and it's not. It's actually like, oh yeah, hey, that was actually in the movie. All right, John, you ready for
Sure.
what is your last one here?
This is my last one, yeah. Except for the last,
The last,
the real
one.
last one, yeah.
The real last one, yeah.
All right.
All right.
So this is my favorite movie of the year.
John, you legend.
I
Legend.
loved Cocaine Bear. Now I watched it streaming. I don't have the Blu-ray. Because was pretty sure I was going to import the 4K. And I didn't want to buy the Blu-ray until I seen it. And I am definitely going to import the 4K disc. This was a pretty good stream from Peacock. It was in HD, 4K. Just
Oh, it was only
5.1.
HD or 4K HDR,
Yeah,
4K.
4K
Okay.
HDR, yeah. 5.1 mix. This was as crazy as I hoped it would be, and then some. It delivered everything I expected and more, because what I was not expecting was the humor. Like, this is a legit comedy, horror movie, and it is fantastic. I also didn't realize how many people were actually in this movie. We all knew Ray Liotta was here. I guess I didn't pay enough attention to the trailers or the news ahead of this, but there's a lot of people in this movie that are very recognizable. And yeah, I laughed to this whole thing and had a great time with it. Absolutely loved it. You got to watch it. If you haven't seen it, it is well worth it. It's as stupid. I mean, it's as stupid as you expect it to be. It is dumb, but it is awesome. I loved it. So,
oh God, you guys are funny.
Chris Brown has a different opinion.
I know he does. I see that, but I loved it. I loved it. I can't.
Yeah,
Unapologetically loved
Deej
it.
is gone.
Yeah.
Nope.
Did it start downloading, Deej? We lost you.
Oh, look at him. Yeah. I don't.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know that you'll love it, DJ, because we have a bit different sensibilities when it comes to these things. But
I know,
was
but
so
how can
fun.
how can
So
I
fun.
deny? You know, I'm sitting here listening to it. I'm cracking up. I'm like, fine, I'll buy it. I'm like, and I do like humor, and
I had to stop in the middle of it and text my son and tell him to start watching the movie.
Yeah.
Because there's a particular scene that I won't spoil, but it was just so funny that I had to pause it and say, "All right, you need to go watch this."
Yeah,
watch this.
that's
movie.
funny.
So.
I absolutely loved it as well. I'm so glad you liked it like that as well, John. I hoped you would.
I did.
It's fantastic. I can't wait to see this again, and I'm now waiting to see it in 4K. I'm hoping because we apparently are going to get a 4K disc over here.
UK is getting it, yes.
Oh, but it could be a mistake.
Oh, really?
Well, there are a number of retailers that are saying there is a 4K disc coming, but I'll believe it when I see it because it's rare that we get a 4K disc that you guys don't of a movie like this.
Right.
So I think I would not be surprised if it's a mistake. I hope it's not because I love this. And we don't have a 4K version here. Here it's just Blu-ray. I saw it on a screener.
Right.
So, but I can't wait. I love this as well. It was absolutely bananas.
Yeah.
In all the best ways. And of course, I think the actor, one of the actors you're obliquely referring to, who I'm not sure was in the trailer, is very good in this. The guy that may or may not have been in Star Wars.
Yeah. We could say who the actors are, right? That's not spoilers.
Do people know? What do you reckon? Can we do it?
Yeah.
All right.
I don't care.
So Alden
Is it going to
Ehrenreich,
ruin the movie for me?
No. Alden Ehrenreich.
Okay.
But even like Jesse Taylor Ferguson, I didn't know he was in this movie. He was great. I kept looking at him thinking, man, I recognize that guy, but I don't know who he is. I actually had to go to IMDb and look him up.
Chris Brown thought the acting was bad.
It was bad, but
okay.
It's
it's a
kind of
horror
film.
movie. Yeah, it's a slasher bear horror movie. It was stupid. I mean, it is absolutely stupid, but
we have opposite opinions in the chat. Carl saw it with a crowd that was completely nuts that loved it, and then Chris Brown saw it and the crowd hated it.
I saw it on my own and I loved it.
I watched Carl, I watched it at home by myself and I loved it. So
right.
I don't know.
Yeah. So
I think you can say this film has there's a bit of legwork here. This film has everything you'd expect of a movie like this. You might say it's got the bare necessities.
You went a long way. You did go a long way for that.
That was a lot of voice.
Yeah.
You spent too much voice on that one.
I did.
At least he didn't sing it.
Yeah.
No.
All right. While you still have your voice, why don't you wrap up with your last one?
I'll do this one super quick. So Operation Fortune Rue de Guerre, which is another Guy Ritchie film, which is a follow-up of sorts to The Gentleman, which I think you've both seen.
I've seen The Gentleman. I liked it quite a bit.
Yeah.
Don't remember. I don't remember that one.
Hugh Grant in it. Again.
No, I don't think I did.
Hugh Grant, Matthew McConaughey.
Charlie Hunnam was the sort of main guy.
Did you just throw Hugh Grant into a higher class, John? You're just like Hugh Grant. You like
did I?
Grant. Yeah, you.
No,
the
I
way you
said-
said it, instead of Hugh Grant, you're like,
I
Hugh
said-
Grant.
Hugh
I
Grant.
think that was me.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, Hugh Grant. I was like,
But
wow.
this is a this is a
Mhm.
sort of caper movie, which is much more streamlined and by the numbers than Guy Ritchie normally does. If you've seen
Yeah.
The Gentleman and you have Snatch, Lock, Stock,
Hmm.
you know, A Rock and Roller, all those kinds of movies, he likes to chop and change the narrative and times and everything else. But this one is by the numbers. It's literally A, B, C, D, E, but it's really fun. It's an Ocean's 11 without the
Mhm.
twist, and it's really really fun. It's on Prime, which is where I saw this, so I'm sure you guys will have it over there. And if you want a fun couple of hours, this is well worth seeing. It's
Oh,
really
cool.
really good. Jason Statham's really good in it, and you know has a lot of fun with this. And Hugh Grant is basically the same role as he played in The Gentleman, same accent and everything, but a different character. But yeah, it's really, really good fun. I definitely recommend this one. And if you get a chance to see it, you know, give it a go. I saw it in 4K, Atmos. You know, nothing massive to write home about in terms of the home theater stuff, but it is coming out in 4K disc over there, and hopefully soon here as well. And I'm sure that will be better because there's lots of gunfights and there's lots of car chases and all that stuff. So yeah, it's really good. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. Carl thinks that it's really good as well.
The poster that I have here for the graphic, at first glance, I know that's Hugh Grant. Now, I thought it was Tom Berenger.
Oh,
Doesn't it kind of look like Tom Berenger?
Yeah, it does. It does.
I was like,
It's yeah, but it's exactly as he looks in that. That's how he
yeah,
sounds.
yeah. That's funny.
That's good. It's well worth seeing. It's good. It's a
Cool.
very diverting, fun, couple of hours.
Cool. All right. Let's get to let's get to it, guys.
Okay.
All right. What do we think now? Because apparently this is a roller coaster ride of a season.
well, and yeah, and this one for me was a backup a little bit. You know, like this was, I thought, a better episode. Everybody heard what I thought of episode 6 last week. Again, I still don't think it's great. This season overall has been a big disappointment. But I thought this was a better episode than the last week. So I guess that's high praise for me.
Steve?
I did enjoy your conversation about it last week. Each one of you claiming to know what it is that I would say about it, which I thought was very cool as well. So I had great fun listening to that.
Isn't that fun?
Steve would say, if
Steve would say
was here,
this.
he would say this.
Well, I wanted you with me on it, really.
Yeah,
because
no, I get it. I get it.
felt like we were probably simpatico.
Well,
We were,
yeah, but that was the idea. You guys had talked behind my back, no less.
Not
I'm
in
just
depth, no.
No,
Not in
I
depth.
know.
Just
Yeah.
that we couldn't wait to discuss it.
Just
Yeah.
whispers. Just
Yeah,
whispers.
in the wind. In the wind.
Yeah.
But to be fair, if it was last week, that I wasn't capable of anything other than that.
Right. It was all whispers.
Yeah, it was
Right.
right. Whether I wanted to or not. I agree. This episode was better. It's been a weird season, though.
Yeah.
It has been all over the place this season, far more so than the other two. And it'll be interesting to see because they've caught some flack for that as well, haven't they? So it'll be interesting to see moving forward. I know he's already written season 4, so that's all done. So I don't know whether they'll change that. But moving beyond that, it'll be interesting to see if they adopt and adapt some of the criticisms that I think has been fairly justifiably laid at the feet of this season. But this episode was better. I don't think we'll spoil it, will we? There is some decent action. There is some fun in it. Some of it
Yeah.
doesn't quite make sense, but there is some nice foreshadowing for the sequel trilogy. You know, they are clearly introducing characters that are moving towards what we know.
Yeah.
And I like that. I thought that was quite well done. So yeah, it is better. I'm looking forward to episode 8. I'll be glad when this season's over, I think, though, because I think it's just maybe then we can watch it all in one go and it might make more sense. What did you think, Deej?
I liked it. I've liked them all. I've been enjoying it for what each one is. I do find it funny when it's like like I've said it before, it's like what we were looking for, maybe not out of Mandalorian, but what people were looking for, especially after when we, Rise of Skywalker. After that, a lot of fans were clamoring for, give me something other than Skywalker. And show, like, it's a huge galaxy, show us more. And I think that's what this is doing, especially this season. And that's every time it happened, that's what I've been enjoying. It's like, oh, this is a different part of it. I think it's more entertaining to me than Phantom Menace was, but it still has, between this and then what was the one before it, where you get a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, a lot of the governmental stuff that's going on between the Empire, and depends on what timeline you're in, where you are in the story of the rise of the rebellion, or here we are after the rebellion has won, but now maybe it's going to have to we got a resurgence of the Empire. There's so much going on, and you're seeing vast parts of the galaxy. And I think they've done a good job at jumping around, showing you all of this stuff, and it looks like they're going to bring it all together and show you, maybe make the season cohesive, but yet you're still seeing all parts of the galaxy. I do feel like, and I said this to my son watching this one, I'm like, this is one of those things where, like when we were kids in the 80s and you're like 5 minutes left in the show and you're like, oh no, this is going to be continued. Like, it doesn't feel like episode 8 is going to wrap up anything in particular. We know we're going to be left hanging, and that's kind of disappointing sometimes, but at the same time, there's so much. And I don't know. It's like, is that what we want? Do we want just like 8 episodes of a contained story and nothing else? Or do you want it to go on? And I'm kind of mixed on that. I'm looking at both ways, but do you see what I mean? Do you get that question? It's kind of weird.
I think if this was this time last week, John would be saying, I don't want it to go on.
Right. I do want it to be cohesive. Like, I don't, like, I'm not watching Friends. I don't need a bunch of
anthology, right. It's not sitcom.
Episodes. Yeah. Right. I do want it to have a cohesive narrative. And I just feel like this season's been too all over the place. And I said it last week. I feel like Din Djarin is a secondary character in his own show. And, I don't know. I feel like The Mandalorian now is, and maybe we lost Steve.
No, he's going to get a drink. He just showed us.
Get a drink. Yep. Maybe this was the intent all along, but this is a story about, to me, all the Mandalorians at this point, and it's not just about him. And so I don't know. I do want to pick up something Carl said though,
which is
Picard season 3 has been unbelievable. It's been really, really great.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. Have you even started Picard season 3?
No.
You liked the first 2 seasons, so you'll enjoy it as well. But this one really hits if you're a fan of the Next Generation show. Because it's no spoilers, but obviously all the cast is back. And it's just a huge reunion of all of these characters that you watched for 7 seasons on Next Generation. But to me, Picard is how you do a season 3, and The Mandalorian should be looking that way.
But isn't this the last for Picard?
This is the end. Yeah, there's actually this week is the finale. It'll be the last last episode, and it does wrap it up. But
so that's kind of not a fair comparison, because they are wrapping up, making it all self-cohesive.
I know, but
if that left you hanging, kind of like the what was it, the second to last episode 8 or whatever of Carnival Row. And I'm like, I thought this was the last season, but then you're like, no, there's one more.
What happened?
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
See? All right, before we get to our final, our show title, the breaking news today, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania dropped on Kaleidoscape today.
Oh, cool.
I was able to download that and catch a quick glimpse of it. I took 20, 25 minutes before we jumped on and watched some scenes. I will have more of a review next week. But my initial impressions are the picture is everything we always wanted. Okay, it looks fantastic. It's the dark scenes, like when they're in the quantum realm. The brights are super bright, but it is really dark. But you can see all the detail, and it really, I think watching this from beginning to end for me is going to be a real treat for HDR. Audio wise, I'm afraid. I'm not impressed so far. So I've just jumped around on some scenes. Maybe watching it from beginning to end, I'll get some bass thumps, but it feels like for the first time in a long time, I'm really feeling, like Thor, Ragnarok. It seems to be lacking a little bit in the dynamics than what I've heard in the past. Even with the next one that's coming up, which I watched on Kaleidoscape as well, Fearless, and that has some real nice thump in the. You don't need Atmos to get great bass. You don't need object bass to get that. And when I say great bass, I'm not saying like deep, sub 20 hertz. I'm saying just like the opening to Star Wars and those drums or anything like that, and there's some stuff in Fearless that's really fantastic. And now granted, I hadn't been in my theater in a while. I actually jumped back, watched a couple of scenes from Fearless just to hear the difference, and I'm like, maybe it's me. And I'm like, nope, crap, it's there. And it wasn't in some of the scenes that I watched in Quantumania. So I'm going to compare it to the digital stream, the 4K Atmos digital stream that's available today, and I'll report back next week. I'm hoping that with allowing the whole movie to wash over me, it'll be better. But jumping scene to scene, I was not impressed with the audio, and I was like overly impressed with the video. So that's where we are with that. Unfortunately. Yeah, it was. So I'm hoping I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe there's a purpose to a couple of those scenes, but I will see when I get back to it.
Yeah. So because I really enjoyed the film, so I'm looking forward to watching it again. I've seen a bit of a 4K stream of it, and the scene with all the different ant-men building the ant kind of column looked fantastic in 4K. Really three-dimensional, really nice. All the detail on each individual one is clearly resolved. So I'm hoping that's what the whole disc is like, because that looked really nice.
Yeah. There's a lot of great detail. The opening scene. Then I watched a battle scene in Quantumania. I watched a couple just go into the scenes on the Kaleidoscape and just boom, boom, and I was like, the ones that they sent, that they put out with the movie. So really, really, like I said. And maybe that might have been part of it too. I was just so infatuated with the scenery, because what's really interesting is, especially with the HDR, is when you get into the really dark scenes, but then looking at the brights in the background, the highlight, the really super brights right there as well. And you're like, wow, how it just looks really, really cool. So, and it does help give you that almost, 3D without being 3D effect. So.
I watched a little bit of the beginning where you've got Janet Van Dyne sort of walking onto that little bit of wasteland.
Yeah.
And you've got the dark stuff behind her, and then you've got the star field above that. And I looked at that and was thinking that looks very nice as well.
Yeah, it does.
So yeah, fingers crossed. I'm looking forward to it. But it'll be a shame if the audio is a bust. That will be a shame. But as we've talked about before, Deej, of course, it might be a stylistic choice, because everything is quantum realm, and it could all be different.
Maybe.
And
that's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping. Maybe I just didn't get it, because that's happened to me before. It's happened with other movies where you're like, oh, there's some thump. Like it didn't have it there, but they did. I don't know. I was hesitant to even talk about it, but at the same time, I'm like, well, it is out. It's like, and I did want to talk about the video, but I'm I got to see. So, but it'll be fun to check out next week. So, for next week. All right, we ready to get to our show title here, boys?
Oh yes,
This
yes,
has been
yes.
a long time coming. So, here we go. It is. I think this is the first time ever too. We have all three of us having seen it, which we've done that in the past.
Different formats, though.
All three of us hit different formats for it.
Yep.
So it really, I wish one of the formats had a different audio stream. I mean, the stream had, we don't know what it is, but it's not master audio, DTS master audio. So, but we all watched it in 5.1. Of course, I haven't said it, but we're talking about show title. We're talking about Fearless. So, yeah. Steve, why don't you lead us off with this, since you were the one that brought it up first, I believe, right?
No, to be fair, John, I think John.
Well, actually, I was trying to go back. It was recommended to me by somebody in the group. After
I thought Steve recommended it a while ago.
No,
but,
after talking about
okay.
Ip Man, somebody posted it on Twitter and recommended it to me as a film to watch. But I was trying to scroll back to see because I can't remember who it was. But yeah, so anyways, I found it on Amazon Prime. So I streamed it 1080p 5.1. And I did not have the director's cut, which I think both of you watched. So I didn't even see the same movie, really, because it's quite a bit shorter from what I understand, like 30 minutes or so.
35
minutes. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I had a subpar stream to boot. I don't know what was going on, but I was having some issues with Amazon that evening. And so, like, the home theater presentation for me, I'm not even going to talk about because I got the story, and that's really about it. It wasn't the best experience, but I'm sure it's much better than what I got. But, I have my stream going in and out, pixelated a bunch, like, for whatever reason. And I never have problems with my stream. I mean, I'm hardwired into my Apple TV box, but for some reason, it just was a bad stream. I almost stopped watching it, but we were getting into it, so I wanted to watch it. But I loved the movie. Absolutely loved the movie, but it was not a great experience from my point of view. But I'm interested because I know it's better than what I got. So
it's as a movie, it's fantastic. I mean, I've seen this film 11, 12, 13 times, if not more.
Oh, wow.
This is one of those, again, like Ip Man. This is one of the classic modern kung fu movies because this is an epic. It's a martial arts epic, especially, sorry, John, the director's cut,
right,
which does, it introduces a new opening, which sets the scene for all of this, which is that they're trying to get Wushu, Wushu, into the
there we go,
into the Olympics. And so, you've got a new opening, and then there's all kinds of stuff in the background. But it's got sweep, it's got scale, and fantastic fight scenes. It's really, really good. And I discovered this film years ago by accident on DVD, I do believe.
Really?
And then got the Blu-ray. Yeah, and then went from there. Yes, this is one of those films where the director's cut is the one to see. There are 3 cuts on the Blu-ray. What have you got on Kaleidoscape, Deej? Is it just the director's cut, or are there 3 versions on that as well?
I have all 3. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So
when you buy it on Kaleidoscape, you get the theatrical, the directors, and the what is it called? Unrated. Yeah, and I went with the directors.
Yeah, it's got to be seen. It's much longer. It gives more context to what's going on, but they're all good. All of them. It's a good movie. So yeah, it's very, very well done as a film. I absolutely love this. I think it's really cleverly done. Very Shakespearean. There are some different things in this that are straight out of Shakespeare. The village fool, as it were, the guy that's down and out, who is today the day you become champion. That's Shakespeare all day long. Right. and you've got different characters in it that speak to that. I think it's great. The fight sequences are really well done. They don't lean too hard into the wushu style. You don't get anyone, standing on top of a blade of grass or flying through the air. There's a little bit of that, but not too much, and it's grounded enough to really kind of make you feel how it goes. So yeah, no, I think it's a great film. And you, Deej, obviously felt the same way.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's funny because you guys, I don't talk about. I've said it to you guys recently, but I don't talk a lot about these, but I do love kung fu movies. And when I saw you guys had this on your list, I was like, oh yeah. I'm like Jet Li. I'm like, now for you guys, I think John, are you like me? Like our first introduction to him was Lethal Weapon 4 for me. It's
Probably, yes.
I think in the States, we knew nothing about him. And one of my, honestly, he's one of my favorite, and I'm talking about Jet Li. That introduction in that movie, the way they portrayed him was kind of like, almost like you couldn't have had a better, he was the bad guy, but he was supposed to be super fast and this, that, and the other thing. And the storyline inside of that was like, made you want to see every Jet Li movie after the fact. Because you were like, you see him in the movie, and he was, if you remember Lethal Weapon 4, it's like, I mean, Martin Riggs, he was the lethal weapon. And he was nobody could beat him. We're in movie 4. He's just like his martial arts, and he had multiple martial arts. Obviously that was before the UFC, but that was the idea, is he knew multiple. But then here comes Jet Li that was just, and remember the first scene with him fighting him, and you were just like, he's just too fast. He's like, he like take his gun apart while it was in his hand or something.
Yeah, he does.
Wasn't that? And he goes, and like, what the? And you were just, as the viewer, you're like, who is this guy? I wasn't even thinking movie magic. I was thinking like, I want to see this guy in other stuff, Right. And it was like, so then other movies start showing up, and of course this one showed up. But did you guys ever see the one?
Yeah, oh yeah, I got the Blu-ray.
Yeah. It's like
with the memorable last line of "You law is nobody's bitch."
Oh my God. But it's so bad. It's like when you go, it does not hold up. Jason Statham in that is just is that like literally his first movie? I didn't IMDb him or anything.
No,
but I'm like,
his first movies were Guy Ritchie movies like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Oh yeah.
And things like that.
But
still,
in that movie, he was just he's unrecognizable in my opinion. I mean, you see him, you know it's him, but it's not. He's not acting. It's just awful. But it was Jet Li. And Jet Li that was a fun one for him. But then you had Hero, you had all of these other ones going through, and it's like, now these are all the American versions, and then it wasn't until much later that I found out there were other movies, So I don't know. I just I like Jet Li. I like this, and then we get him in the Expendables, and and he's an action star and stuff like that. But I don't know. I love these movies, and this movie, like you said, Steve, it's like Shakespearean. It's got a great story. It's not an action movie. There's a little bit in it, right? But it's much more story oriented. I don't know.
Yeah, it's an epic. It's a sweeping epic. Yeah, to call it a martial arts film in and of itself is reductive, isn't it? Because we've seen the movies where simple martial art films. Right. Yeah, it's more than that. It's much more to it. This had a genuine desire to make this is a film. It's not necessarily a movie, if that makes sense. So yeah, I love
it does. Yeah,
it's really, really good. I mean, it's anyone again listening that isn't sure, if you like kung fu movies, you like that kind of stuff, this is well worth seeking out. Yeah, it's great. So yeah, and again, on our little kung fu movies sojourn that we're on at the moment, our little season, then this is definitely one of the highlights of it. And of course, we're moving through the Ip Man films, and hopefully we're going to get to the 4K of Enter the Dragon at some point, because it's coming this year. So yeah, we will see. By the way, did you guys see there's a reference mentioned of a 4K Bruce Lee box set? It's coming out
I-
over here. I don't know if you
I
saw it
saw
over there.
you tweeted some. I saw something that you responded to.
Yeah, but it turns out that a couple of the movies are not in 4K.
Right.
4K box set, 4K
But-
written all over it, but a number
but they're
of them
not
are
4K.
4K. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
that's,
did not get that at all. Anyway, so just to give people a warning about that. But yeah, so 4K Enter the Dragon's coming, and these are the lovely stepping stones on the way to it.
Steve, what did you think? What did you think on the disc of the image quality in this?
Okay.
Because I'll tell you what I thought of the Kaleidoscape.
Yeah, the disc is interesting because I know this film well, but I hadn't seen the movie on the big screen in this big screen to me in the cinema room, not to you guys. And so I put it on there and I was expecting really good things because I've seen this before many times and always thought it looked great. Initially, the first sort of 5 minutes or so, I was disappointed because I thought it was quite a noisy image. There was a lot of movement in the kind of the dead spaces, as it were, and it was very soft initially. But of course, but having said that, the initial footage of the Olympic presentation is, of course, director's cut footage anyway, and probably not been finished to the same degree as the rest of the movie. So that notwithstanding, as it went on, it got better. And it got better and better and better. And by the time he gets to the village and the ox called Yellow, who I think is quite sweet, the washerwomen and the rice pickers have got costumes on with little grid patterns on their hats. And those are so detailed. They, every little stitch can be seen.
Yeah.
So it gets better as it goes through. There are some, really nice sequences. The rain fight, which we'll talk about in a bit, is really nice. The way that looks is all good. So generally a solid disc, nothing that you'd pick out as a demo. I don't think you'd say to someone, you've just got to see this movie, watch this bit. Not video. Audio, I think there are. But video, probably not one I'd reach as a demo. But it's solid, not anything to write home about, is probably what I would say. I would love a 4K disc of this. That I would like. What did you think, Dij?
I thought a lot of. I couldn't wait to hear what you guys thought, and unfortunately, John's. Well, that's kind of the way streaming goes. So unfortunately, John had that experience, but at the same time, that kind of points to the variables of streaming, right? It's like you can't trust it.
Right.
On the Kaleidoscape, between the Kaleidoscape and then putting this thing through my Lumagen, I couldn't stop thinking, like scene after scene, and this is going to sound stupid, but Mike Schramm's question. And am I getting like an up conversion here that's just not, there is some gorgeous imagery in this movie. And I agree with you, Steve. And there's a lot of movies that you watch, especially older movies, where you go at the beginning, you're like, this isn't, because it's just, it takes I don't know if it's the movie actually improves as you go along, or you just get accustomed to this is that film style, right? It could be a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But I know going through this and I'm watching it and I'm like, there's just such the vibrant colors of and then the tonal quality of scene after scene, because sometimes it's a warmer wash over the screen when they're indoors, or they go out into the streets and the sunlight hits differently than when they were inside. There was just so much that I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm telling you, at times I'm like, this isn't HDR, right? I'm like, this looks that good. And then every time I checked it, I'd think of Mike Schramm's question. And the time I said the same thing when I was watching 2012, and a listener said to my comments about 2012, it's like, well, you are running that Lumagen, and I was like, maybe that's the case. And that's, I don't know, but I thought it enhanced the movie for me for sure. Because as we talked about before, we all love the story. We love the movie. It's not a movie. You're right. It's a film. And then I just thought that the imagery was just so much more enhanced, especially I don't want to give it away for people, but the director's version and scene and the vibrancy that you get. And here we get some details that maybe you don't want to get, but the vibrancy in certain things in those scenes, you're just like, wow, it was beautiful. But then, all right, the final scene. Steve, I wish you were closer. I wish you could come and see that here. And right before the credits roll, and like we were talking about in Quantumania, and the stars and the skies, and it just beautiful scenery. So,
yeah, it's been shot very, very, deliberately. I put this on a par almost with Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, in terms of this is a kung fu film, epic in nature, almost shot by Roger Deakins. It's kind of we're not going to treat this like a little Shaw Brothers kind of, papier mâché sort of, cardboard scenery.
right.
This is shot real world with someone that's got an eye for the beauty of it.
Mhm.
They've just gone out and shot it in that way, and it's very well done. And all the stuff in the rice fields, all the stuff in broad daylight, just looks beautiful.
Oh,
The way the camera glides over the waterfall when he's having his hair washed, and you just get that thing there, and that water looks beautiful. The different colors of green, and
yeah.
and you can see the water fading into darkness because it gets deeper as it goes, and all that's just transformative. It's so easy to just get lost in that.
Yeah.
So I would love a 4K disc in this. It would look beautiful.
Yeah.
Whether we'll get it, I don't know, but it would be nice to have it.
Yeah, and it's funny you say all that about like these movies, because it's the martial arts, right? And they consider, though, it's not fighting; it's an art. It's an art form. Most of it is. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was going to lead to. It's like it's an art form like dancing. So it's like they're filming these with that eye. It's artists filming artists, so there's just so much there, and it's that you could just keep going, keep talking. Let's get to some of the audio, and let me get to my one scene that I have, 1 hour, 9 minutes or so, and it's in the fields, and they're working, and it's like water and mud, I think, if I remember right. They're working in the field, and I think the women were putting plants into the mud, if I'm trying to remember correctly.
Yeah,
But
rice. Yeah.
okay, so they're down low, but then the scene it shifts the view to a higher up shot where you're looking down over everything, and the audio, it's subtle, it's super subtle, but when you're down close to the water, the room goes relatively quiet around you, but then when it moves up high and you're looking down, you hear the winds, you hear the around you, and it's just like you wanted them to keep switching scenes so you could experience it again. You're like, go back down, go back up, go back down. So I backed it up a couple times, did it myself, but it was really cool. It wasn't one of those like, really loud scenes or something where you'd be like, oh, 5 boxes of popcorn, but it was just the subtlety of it that was just so much fun. And I'm like, wait a minute, where did the wind go? Oh yeah, we're close to the ground. And then you're up in the air. Where's the air? Right there. It was really cool. So that was my first one. What do you got, Steve?
Well, I've got the rain fight at 40 minutes. So there've been fights before, but the fights are a little bit showy and they're outdoors. So you don't get the thuds and the thwacks and the real punchy, again, to use that bloody play on words. You don't get that kind of force to the fights outside because of where they're being shot. So then around about the 40-minute mark, they go inside, and you then get a fight whilst there's a rainstorm going on outside. So you get the overhead of the rain, you get the thunder and the lightning going around the room, and then you get a proper, no holds barred, knock them down, drag them out fight, where you've then got, and they're not just using fists, you've got swords. So, and of course, one of the swords has got rings on it. And there is a scene where the two swords meet, and then they move around the room as each one is trying to deflect the sword, and you get the chinking of the little rings. You've got the sort of the plink, plink, plink noise of that. You've got the rain, and then you've got the swooshing noise as it goes around the room. And then coupled with that, you've then got stuff being smashed. You've got pots breaking, and the music going, and that is absolutely fantastic. This is one of those demo scenes that I was talking about. And if someone said, "Oh, what's Fearless like?" You're like, "Well, let me just show you this bit." Because that's just got all the power that you want from a fight in something like this, even though it's upmixed. So I thought that was really, really good. And I really like that. So that's your kind of a counterpoint to your thing about the wind, which is a character in the film in and of itself.
Yeah.
That's where that brings the power. The rain fight is where you've got the traditional, power to this fight. So that was great. And then I go slightly before your one. My next one is 1 hour, 4 minutes, which I've labeled as Dragonflies.
Yes.
And
yeah,
so
I was
this
going to write
movie-
that one down too, but you already had it. But yep.
You've got the children are chasing dragonflies, and you've got Yu Hoja, Jet Li's character, just stood there, and you can listen to those dragonflies move right the way around you. You can almost grab one, and they come sort of on your shoulder. There's such clever placement. Now again, it's an algorithm, isn't it? Because we're up mixing it, so this is the
all
computer's
everything
interpretation of what we think this is going to be. But I thought that was really nice, and you can hear the beating of the wings and the movement of them right around the room. And I thought that was lovely and really subtle, but evocative as well. So I thought that was great. Did you? And you got that as well. Presumably, John, did you get that too? You might well have done.
It doesn't stand out to me, honestly. I just think I had a bad, like I said, I didn't have a great experience with it from the stream. So
this has been your physical media moment.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really remember it standing out that much to me, honestly. So I'm looking forward to a rewatch. Yeah, for sure. Well, for one, because I want to see the director's cut. And so I'm going to pick it up for that.
It's an American disc. Okay. So it's out over there. This was back in the days when I was importing them. It's region free.
It is. It's actually, it's on Amazon and it's pretty cheap. It's only like $12, $13.
Yeah,
I just haven't.
Well worth it.
Yeah, I just haven't picked it up yet.
Yeah. Yep.
So that was my other one. Have you got any others? Indeed, I've got another one. If
I just had one comment on the, it's not really a home theater thing, but I thought it was funny. The scene at 1 hour, 41 minutes with the quote wrestler. And I couldn't help but think, it just reminded me of like the conversations of the 90s of, who would win, Mike Tyson or a UFC fighter. Right. And it's the big guy, David versus Goliath. And this isn't even David versus Goliath. The martial arts to me have always been about the little guy. And the other part is they're quiet. And I love that too about it, which is not my style. I'm not quiet. But how you never know. And you see somebody like of Jet Li's stature, and they always portray them in movies that way. They're always, and the people that like to brag about their power are usually the ones that don't have it. It's be weary of the quiet ones, right? And and that one particular scene there with it was everything that we talked about in the 90s and stuff when UFC first came out, and like, oh, Mike Tyson would kill them. You want to bet? So I feel like that's why that scene was in the movie.
Yeah, it could be. Also, it's just a dramatic, powerful kind of thing. Of course, maybe that it just happened in real life as well, because this is a true story.
It did.
So it's, albeit, as any of these things are true, it's a true story, isn't it? But so that, and certainly there were.
I've seen it firsthand. I've seen that firsthand. And what I thought was funny is like that, watching the size of that guy and the size of Jet Li, the one I saw, the guy was actually relatively the same size. And the person that he was fighting was actually smaller and skinnier than Jet Li. and he grabbed him. And what the guy did is he literally used his arm and did like a pull up on him. And like he had him by the throat and his legs went up around him and he broke the guy's arm. And the guy was just left hanging with a busted arm. And that little person just like walked away. And it was like the fight was over like that. And you're like, to see that, and that's real. That wasn't a movie. That was real. And he just literally just crawled he didn't even crawl. He just like pulled himself up and put his arms around his head and just hyperextended his arm and broke it. And to see that in real life, and then to see this scene here, it's like the little guy against the big guy, and the big guy has no idea what's in store for him. It's like, I'm going to overwhelm you with power. I love that stuff.
It is a cool scene. It is
Yes.
good, and of course, it's similar to what we saw in Imp Man 2, where you've got the Chinese guy taking on the British boxer.
Awesome. Right.
Right.
Yeah, so it's very similar, which says to me that it's an apocryphal tale. The idea that the British or the colonialists thought that the Chinese were weak, so thought they'd prove it by putting in their champions and got their asses kicked.
Right.
So my last one then, just before my voice properly gives
Yeah.
out, is 1 hour 58, and I've labeled that competition time. So that's when you get this beautiful sequence of different forms of combat. So from the different parts of the world, which, by the way, interestingly, the people doing that are from those parts of the world. Those are real martial artists from those parts of the world doing this stuff. So you've got the swordsman from Belgium. You've got the German staff chap. There's a name for it. I can't think what it is. Obviously the Japanese katana, but you've got this lovely mixed martial arts, I suppose, sequence, which sounds amazing, looks amazing, and just really caps the movie off so well. So I really like that sequence, and that's the one that often sticks in my mind. Also, then the rice paddy where they stand and just look up and close their eyes and feel the wind. Whenever I think of Fearless, it's those two sequences that I always remember. So yeah, very, very good indeed.
Yeah.
It's a great film. One of my favorite martial arts films, movies, whatever you want to call it.
Film.
So,
Yeah. Really good. And definitely worth purchasing as opposed to streaming,
Well,
as we've pointed out
But-
here.
You know, you wouldn't have known it
sometimes you
without
just do
trying
what
it.
you got to do to watch it. You
Yeah.
know?
Oh, I'm not. I
Yeah.
think you've done a great service for us, John. I'm not making fun at all.
No, I
I'm,
know.
I'm,
I'm just
I'm saying
saying.
legit. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, I do them all the time. I do these ABs all the time, and yeah, you're right. And what will
to
be
be fair,
interesting.
I
is
only watched Fearless again because John had seen it, and then I was like, "Oh, now's my chance to revisit it again."
Yeah.
So we owe John a huge vote of thanks for that.
Well,
Yeah.
and I owe somebody. I can't
Yeah.
remember who.
Yeah, it's great.
Might have
'Cause I
been me.
didn't know about this one. So
Might have been me. I
Oh
don't
wow.
know.
no, I
Right.
keep wanting to say Dan, but I'm not sure if it was. But I think it was Dan that brought it up. But
It's
I could
great.
be wrong.
I'm loving this martial
John
arts.
Brock?
Guys.
It wasn't Brock. Yeah,
No,
I
I
don't
know.
think it was Brock.
Yeah, that's funny. All right. We good on that then? We can
I think
wrap up with our. We also have this from Chris. I watched IP Man do to you guys. I have to say IP Man. Just the first one so far. But yeah, he's getting into them. People are getting into them, and you know, they are great movies, and that's
They
what's
are.
fun about this. It's like not only are we talking home theater experiences now, but we're branching out. Everybody's branching out, so lots of fun going on.
Deej, just before we leave, Fearless, don't forget the word of the day.
Yes. Go ahead. Say it again. Word of the day. Code word for the Sofa Baton X1. Code word for this. We've already said it once.
Or twice.
But nobody knew. Yeah, but nobody knew.
Nobody knew what we were
yeah.
saying. So go ahead, Steve.
It is wushu.
And you have to spell it like that. Whooshu.
Yeah, that's it. Just
When you
shoot
email
yes.
me, thank you for
Yes.
everybody that's participating so far. We're getting code words. I'm getting the emails of people participating, and there have been extra code words out there, and people are paying attention and sending me the extra code words that are not in the show, which is kind of interesting. So some people are paying attention. So the competition is going on for that Sofa Baton, which is a couple more weeks. So we have one more code word coming up in the show next week, and then we'll be drawing from there. And next week we are going to be talking about Wanted. Steve has already watched it, right? You've already
Last night.
watched it. Yep.
Yep.
So we have that. I have it. I've ordered it. And I will have watched it and compared it. And what I think on my end is going to be interesting, getting into what I just was saying about Fearless and everything looking upgraded. So Wanted is interesting. It came out in 4K HDR, but it's just literally just upmixed. The video is just upmixed, and that's what they're putting out, the 4K HDR. So is that going to be any different to me? Do you see what I mean? Like, I'm going to watch it on Kaleidoscape. Kaleidoscape only has it in, I don't think they have the 4K version yet. So I have the 4K disc coming. And do they look similar? Because all I'm doing on the Kaleidoscape is up converting. Maybe I am up converting it. So that'll be interesting. What's the difference? Kind of like we talk about the difference in object-based versus us just up mixing it with the Neural X. Is the potential, all they're doing on their end is doing the same thing on these older movies. So I'm interested to see what that difference is. So if there is any.
It very brief spoiler alert. It looks and sounds good, very good. So
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about it. Yep. And I
Yeah.
saw your comments on Twitter. It's not really a spoiler. They're out there in the ether. So it'll be fun. We're going to have a fun time with that one next week as well. So, and then of course on Tuesday next week, I have my conversation coming out with Roseanne, marathon bombing survivor. So look out for that one. And then we'll be back live on Tuesday as well, with all of this fun stuff all over again. So, thank you everybody for joining us in the chat. We had fun before the show got going. We had a little bit of fun there. Thank you, John and Steve. Everybody, full bus bench this week. Always more fun. Good times. So, you ready to get out of here?
Sure.
Yep.
All righty then. Well, what are you gonna do?
Go push play.
What he said.
Hey, we're out of here.
Well done, guys. I can't believe my voice managed to get